Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in Naruto. Double package at the start. Chapter 101. Report. Master Orochimaru, Sir, Sunagakur team is heading straight to Kikyo Castle. It's in the headquarters of the city gate. When everyone was hesitating, a perception ninja rushed in a panic. Come on, you don't have to worry about it now, they have come over by themselves. Hearing the report of the perception ninja, Zhaojian shrugged and laughed. But apart from Orochimaru in the headquarters, no one is as relaxed as Zhaojian. After all, facing an enemy siege twice as much as one's own, it still has a great deterrent for them. It seems that Sunagakur is more anxious than us. Do you want to save Abazo back? Since the opponent has already attacked, let's defend a wave first. Currently it can only be so. The voice of the 360 report fell, and there was a second of silence in the command center. Then everyone began to express their opinions enthusiastically. If that's the case, then go to defend the enemy first. Look at Sunagakur too, with what kind of confidence, dare to take the initiative to initiate a war. Orochimaru said with a grin in a hoarse voice. After experiencing the Second Ninja World War, he is no stranger to war. So for Sand Shinobi Village's attack, he is naturally not timid. A group of people walked out of the headquarters of the city gate. Sure enough, I saw Sand Shinobi, like ants rushing from a distance. The densely packed numbers of people caused a trace of panic to the defenders on the city wall of Kikyo for a while. However, in the evening, Junhong took the initiative to stand up. Under some encouragement, morale immediately stabilized again. As for why he stood up, of course Orochimaru dismissed morale. Pata pata pata, la ah ah. The sound of footsteps and breaking air kept approaching. In the end, Sand Shinobi's army all stopped 100 meters in front of Kikyo Castle. Because the ninja has a relationship with chakra, everyone is light-footed. It did not create any momentum. However, the continuous sound of breaking through the air is equally deterrent. Chiyo-sama, I haven't seen you for several years, you are still so noisy when you are old, are you not afraid of flashing your old waist? Looking at Chiyo in front of Sand Shinobi's team, Orochimaru moved in a hoarse voice. Although in World War II, it was Tsunade from Sannin who really won the match with Chiyo. But Orochimaru also played against Chiyo. Therefore, the two of them can be regarded as old acquaintances for many years. So it's you, a dead snake. I haven't seen it for a few years, but now it will only be profitable. Seeing Konoha's reinforcement leader was Orochimaru, Chiyo also frowned. As an old opponent who has played against each other, Orochimaru's name and strength naturally make Chiyo attach great importance to it. But after hearing his run-on, Chiyo also gave him back. On the battlefield, the momentum naturally cannot be weakened. After a word from Orochimaru, Chiyo's sight began to scan again on the wall. When the line of sight swept to Zhaojian, the look of Chiyo's eyes instantly fixed on Zhaojian's body. A samurai suit with a black sword on his waist. Although he is not old, his temperament is different. As a veteran cage-level powerhouse, Chiyo also noticed the power of Zhaojian at the first time. All over the city wall of Kikyo, she could feel a threatening person. This is Zhaojian and Orochimaru. So she naturally recognized Zhaojian without a doubt. You are Baiyun Zhaojian, right? You will pay the price for you to slaughter the compatriots in my village. Chiyo stared at Zhaojian for a few seconds, then gritted his teeth and said. This guy in front of him not only slaughtered them Sand Shinobi, even arrested her closest brother. Therefore, at this moment, Chi and I can't wait to peel Zhaojian directly. If you want to be ruthless, you don't have to, just attack it directly. Zhaojian stood on the city wall of Kikyo, looking down at the Sand Shinobi in front of him. A faint voice came from his mouth. But the sound is small. But it was full of self-confidence and a trace of contempt for Sand Shinobi. Zhaojian-kun, you are really direct. Hearing that Zhaojian asked Chiyo to attack directly, Orochimaru suddenly laughed hoarsely. Before the battle, the two sides exchanged harsh words. This is basically a pre-war practice zero. Zhaojian naturally knows too. But he just didn't bother to pay attention to it. After all, fighting early is also fighting late, so why waste time on both sides? I am still eager to earn prestige points, and go to the advanced lottery. Since you are so eager to find death, the old body will make you perfect. Seeing Zhaojian not putting sand shinobi in his eyes so much, not only Qiandai was angry. The army of sand shinobi was also angry. Give it to me. Kill. Stepping on Kikyo Castle, stepping on Konoha village. Chio raised his hand and waved forward. Sand shinobi's army immediately scattered and rushed over. As high-end combat power, a group of Sunagakur Jonin directly led the charge. The roar of roar, from the mouth of sand shinobi straight into the sky. It's magnificent and magnificent. All of them rushed straight to Kikyo Castle with an indomitable momentum. Look down from the sky. I saw countless small black spots moving quickly to a city. It was like a group of ants attacking the city. Prepare to defend. Tari really red shouted loudly and rang again. Compared to Orochimaru, he seemed more like a commander. Ah! When the drink falls, all the Konoha garrisons, Jian, and weapon sets of weapons. The tense and bloody atmosphere quickly permeated the wall. This is the time to fight. It is also a moment of meritorious service. Zhaojian-kun, don't plan to let us see your S-class wind-style ninjutsu. For Sand Shinobi, Orochimaru is not afraid of the dense impact. Instead, he turned his head and smiled at Zhaojian with a look full of interest. Other Jonin listened to this. It also focused all expectations on Zhaojian. They were also curious about Zhaojian's wind style that killed 100 Sand Shinobi in one blow yesterday. It is said that was the S-level ninjutsu he developed himself. Wind-style spiral shuriken. Seeing everyone gathered their sights, Zhaojian did not refuse. He also happened to have the idea of releasing this ninjutsu. La la la. The violent wind formed by the spiral shuriken whirled arbitrarily beside Zhaojian. A crowd of Konoha Jonin who were originally full of curiosity. Suddenly he was blown back in half directly. Shock hung on everyone's faces. This ninjutsu hasn't been thrown out yet, it actually possesses such a great power. It seems that this is indeed an S-rank ninjutsu. Zhaojian-kun, you are so talented. Although Orochimaru was not blown back, he was also shocked. Because he can feel that in this spiral shuriken, there is a very violent and amazing wind attribute chakra. This makes Orochimaru also feel extremely jealous. Wind-style spiral shuriken. He ignored the shock of everyone around him. After the spiral shuriken was fully formed, Zhaojian suddenly bent over and threw it out. The sound of the air being cut open sounded. What? The spiral shuriken galloped out quickly through the air. Everyone held their breath and kept their eyes on the shooting technique. Looking forward to the rumors, that shocking wind-style explosion. Disperse. Quickly disperse. Sunagakur's perception ninjas. I had already noticed the movement above Kikyo Castle. So when the ninjutsu was just thrown over, the perception ninjas suddenly shouted to remind them. The Sand Shinobi, who were rushing forward, quickly dispersed to the sides after being warned. Magnet-style sand blast binding hub. At this time, a pair of giant golden hands suddenly rose quickly in front of the spiral shuriken. Attempt to grab Zhaojian's wind style directly. But the moment the giant hand touched the spiral shuriken, it was cut in half in an instant, and gold sand was scattered all over the floor. Hurry up, I can't stop seeing my own magnet style. When Luo Sha reminded her companion loudly, she also sprinted to the side quickly. Rumble. Wind style touched the ground and suddenly spread to the surroundings. The huge explosion made the surroundings feel like an earthquake, triggering waves of ground shaking. The strong wind swept in all directions from the center of the explosion. The lucky Sand Shinobi, and the timely Sand Shinobi who dodged, were blown away directly on the edge of the explosion. And the Sand Shinobi who were unfortunately recruited. It is within the scope of the explosion. He was beaten into a sieve by countless fine needles of the wind blade. Rumble. The explosion continues. It was as if the 8th level wind was howling fiercely. The strong wind formed by the spiral shuriken spread to the surroundings, and the trees were all broken by the waste and blown into flight by the wind. Above Kikyo Castle, the Konoha people who witnessed this scene were all blown to their backs by the gust of wind. Orochimaru's long hair was also flying freely at this time. It's like washing, cutting and blowing. Illustration. Konoha shinobi who witnessed the power of ninjutsu for the first time. All their expressions were dull, and their hearts fell into a panic cough. Is this S-rank ninjutsu? Is this too powerful? This idea could not help but popped up in everyone's hearts. Ding! Congratulations to the master for killing 39 enemies and gaining 2067 prestige points. Close black lens bracket. Hearing the system prompt, Zhaojian nodded in satisfaction. There are more sand shinobi today than yesterday. So this spiral shuriken was dropped. Naturally, it was more than twice the prestige value gained from yesterday's second serve. The explosion caused by the spiral shuriken lasted more than 10 seconds, and then gradually subsided. A huge circular hole in the field made everyone feel a little frightened. The sand shinobi on the battlefield were also stunned on the spot. However, after the scene was silent for 2 or 3 seconds, the sand shinobi roared and rushed up again. Come on, come on, come on. More than 30 sand shinobi were killed at the same time, which is really shocking. But for this time, the sand shinobi army with more than 6,000 people. There were casualties at this point. It didn't hurt anything at all. Improve concentration. The roar of the sand shinobi also made the Konoha shinobi regain their senses. Everyone tightened their minds again and quickly entered a state of battle. Attack. Whoops whoops. When sand shinobi were near the bottom of Kikyo Castle, Konoha's defenders threw various kunai shurikens one after another. Shot by the rain of arrows, many sand shinobi couldn't dodge, and they were shot and killed on the spot. Counterattack. Counterattack. Wind style. Fire style. Earth style. Boom boom boom. The sand shinobi, who escaped the rain of arrows and rushed into the attack range, also began to release ninjutsu at this time. As for the Konoha shinobi, they also resisted. The ninjutsu between the two sides collided and exploded. The sound of blasting is continuous and endless. For a time, the entire Kikyo Castle was in front. The flames are everywhere and the gunpowder is full of smoke. The continuous ninjutsu bombing duel lasted for a while, and finally the sand shinobi were even better. After all, they occupy an absolute advantage in numbers. On the walls of Kikyo Castle, there were even several places that were directly shattered and cracked. FK. FK. Those who saw Konoha shinobi were suppressed behind 360 on the wall. Sand shinobi took advantage of this opportunity to quickly approach the wall, and then rushed up to the wall. NS. Hand-to-hand combat has begun. Zhaojian pulled out Chushui from his waist abruptly, and at the same time turned his head to remind Kushina. Kushina was also at this time, and Jian stood up. Illustration. Several chakra chains burst out from behind her. The array of 10,000 snakes. At this time, Zhaojian suddenly heard Orochimaru's voice. When I turned around, Orochimaru opened a huge mouth on the wall. Countless lion majesty was crawled out of his mouth by summoning. Countless lion majesty gushing out soon formed a vast sea of snakes. Down from the city wall, it quickly spread out. Puff puff. The snake's mouth opened, and the sword blade spit out from the snake's mouth. Where the snake sea spreads past, the sand shinobi are either submerged or pierced by sword blades. So disgusting ninjutsu. Kushina, who witnessed this scene, had goosebumps on her hands. Zhaojian also nodded frowning. This Orochimaru is very strong, yes. But his ninjutsu is extraordinarily heavy. As far as the dense sea of snakes under the city wall is concerned, it is definitely a disaster for dense phobia. Magnet-style Jinsha waves. Just when the Orochimaru snake formation flooded a dozen sand shinobi, a loud shout suddenly rang. Then a piece of golden sand rushed towards the snake formation like a sea wave. The snakes immediately plunged into the sand waves. In an instant, they were all strangled to death. Rosa, as expected of fourth cage in the original plot. Seeing the figure floating in the air stepping on a piece of golden sand, Zhaojian whispered to himself. These characters appeared in the original work. Sure enough, everyone has his own brush. Unexpectedly, in addition to third cage and Sunagaker, there are people who use magnet style. Seeing that his snake formation was wiped out, Orochimaru was not angry. Instead, he also moved his sight to Luo Sha in the air. Come on. At this moment, roars rang everywhere. Sand shinobi have begun to rush up the city wall gradually. Hand-to-hand fighting broke out on the tower. Kang. Puff puff. 2 sand shinobi just jumped onto the city wall. Zhaojian casually cut his head off in an instant. The headless bodies of the 2 of them also fell heavily down the city wall again. Protect yourself. Zhaojian turned his head to exhort Kushina, and then jumped directly off the wall. Compared to defending on the city wall, he prefers to go to the massacre. Massacre after all. This is the fastest way to earn prestige. Rumbling. The moment it fell to the ground outside the city, Zhaojian swung his knife forward abruptly. A horizontal slash of more than 20 meters long. In an instant it was like a sea wave, roaring fiercely. The earth wailed continuously, and the soil was overturned directly. The dozens of sand shinobi who rushed forward were immediately overwhelmed, swallowed, and strangled by this terrifying slash. Oh. Zhaojian Kun's kendo is really extraordinary. Orochimaru was originally looking at Luasha in the air and heard the movement below the city. When I looked down, I happened to witness Zhaojian, the tsunami-like marvel and slash. This way of fighting is different from the ninja world. For the first time, I entered this world, in the eyes of high-end combat power. Armed color, emission. Zhaojian drank in a low voice. Armament hockey came out through the body. A layer of invisible armor was formed immediately, covering the surface of his body. Indeed, Zhaojian stepped on the ground suddenly. In an instant, it shot at nearby sand shinobi. The cuttlefish mother had a bad hand, and he had adjusted it well before the war. Illustration. I've been waiting for this time to kill and earn prestige. Puff puff. A simple accelerated sprint. In the blink of an eye, the 5 heads were newly flew by Zhaojian. The speed was so fast that none of the 5 dead sand shinobi felt any pain. Donate blood. Drink alcohol behind Zhaojian. The 5 heads came in sequence, falling from the air to the ground. The hand of magnet-style sand. Seeing Zhaojian slaughtering his companions, Luasha immediately waved his hands across the air. Under the chakra burst, the ground burst suddenly. Then a golden sand hand quickly broke through the ground and grabbed Zhaojian. But it is a pity. The attack speed of magnet style obviously couldn't keep up with Zhaojian's movement. No matter how Sunus threw behind him, he still slaughtered unscrupulously. Moreover, the speed of harvesting lives has not slowed down a bit. Shulking snake hand. Just when Luasha overpowered Jinsha's big hand, he kept pursuing Zhaojian with perseverance. 4 big snakes with thick bulls rushed over in an instant and bit at him. Luo Sha hurriedly interrupted the pursuit of Zhaojian. Chakra surging with all his strength. The golden sand under his feet immediately wrapped himself up for defense. At this moment, the 4 big snakes were tightly wrapped around his body surface. Strangled him for a while and was a little immobile. Zhaojian-kun, you can carry out the massacre with peace of mind, this guy will leave it to me. Orochimaru's hoarse voice rang. At some point, he also rushed down from Kikyo Castle. Zhaojian, who was harvesting sand shinobi quickly, turned his head and glanced at Orochimaru's voice. After that, there was no fluctuation again, and he continued to kill himself. Magnet-style gravel rain. Luo Sha, who was in the air, suddenly shouted. Immediately afterwards, the golden sand around him began to explode in all directions. The 4 big snakes entwining him were also beaten to pieces and fell from the air at this time. Rosa broke free from the entanglement of the big snake, and looked down at Orochimaru. The eyes of the two collided in the air, sparks overflowed, and the smell of gunpowder permeated. After the air condensed for a second, the two suddenly fought together. Rumbling, large-scale ninjutsu, under the use of the two, violently collided with each other. The aftermath of horror spread to the surroundings. The sand shinobi who were attacking the city around quickly moved away from the battlefield between the two. Because of their strength, they could not intervene in the battle between the two at all. Close to the edge of the battle, it will only be affected by the battle. Puff, puffy puff. The Zhaojian battle is also continuing. In order to save energy, he did not swish and slash. And good King Hao is the choice, the easiest and most convenient way to kill enemies in close combat. So the might of his fighting. There was no collision between Orochimaru and Luasha, it seemed so powerful. Instead, the fierce battle with the two formed a strong visual contrast. On the one hand, the momentum is huge, and the aftermath is constant. On the one hand, there is no sound, blood and wine. The battlefield under Kikyo Castle was also due to the initiative of Zhaojian and Orochimaru. Illustration was divided into 2 completely different extremes of the battle circle. The Sand Shinobi's full-scale attack on Kikyo Castle was also blocked and weakened by the two fighting outside the city. Scorch style over steamed kill. Adamantine ceiling chains. The Jonins of Sunagakure also rushed to the tower of Kikyo Castle and fought against the Jonins of Konoha. Kushina and Ikang also used their own housekeeping skills, and they fought fiercely to plan together. Ah, ah, ah. The two battle circles in front of Kikyo Castle soon made Sand Shinobi's Chiyo look down. Orochimaru is okay, Rosha's magnet style is holding it back. So his fighting movement, although it seems very vast. But the real number of enemies is not much. But Zhaojian's battle circle is different. Super high speed, super defense, combined with a kendo that slashes the enemy with a single blow. It didn't take long before the battle broke out. Sand Shinobi who died under the Zhaojian butcher knife. There are not 100 people, and there are 80 people. There were 2 Sand Shinobi Jonin who couldn't stand it on the way, so they went to stop Zhaojian. However, after a few rounds, Zhaojian was also slashed by the knife and became the dead soul in his hands. FK the blade. Several undulating jumps. Chiyo quickly approached Zhaojian from the back of the battlefield. Then, with a sudden wave of both hands in front of him, a row of kunai shot directly at Zhaojian. Moreover, a chakra thread is connected to the rear of each kunai. Whoops whoops whoops. Kuwu lost to Zhaojian's side. Suddenly burst into pieces and scattered in all directions. Then, from all directions, Zhaojian was completely sealed off in the attack range. Pippi 363. Can't you sit still? Thousands of sudden attacks. Zhaojian's attention was immediately drawn. Experts will know if there is any. This cage-level strong offense is not at the same level as Jonin. Pin. Boom. Ding ding clang. Ding clang clang. The kunai that came from the lacing, the sharp blade was glowing, and it was obviously all quenched and poisoned. So Zhaojian didn't dare to save his energy carelessly. Suddenly rotating and swinging the knife. A tornado-like slash instantly enveloped him, blocking all Kuwu. Flying sword. After blocking Kuwu, Zhaojian quickly fought back. With a 3 to 4 meter arc slash, he immediately glided toward Chiyo. 2 Sand Shinobi were brutally innocent in the midway, and they were instantly slashed by the gliding, and they were cut directly on the scene. Blood and meat and internal organs filled the ground with wine in an instant. It looks very scary and bloody. Puppetry. Aurora Sealing Shield. Clang. The voice of Jintijiaoge ACDA suddenly sounded. The 2 puppets were summoned at some point. In an instant, in front of Chiyo, the chakra shield was unfolded. The slash that Zhaojian slapped blocked everything perfectly. Oh, Zhaojian looked surprised. Unexpectedly, Sand Shinobi could be slashed directly into a slash. Illustration. It was actually blocked by the chakra shield, which was so simple. Operate and act as one. Just when Zhaojian was surprised, the chakra shield in front of Chiyo burst suddenly. Then the 2 puppets quickly merged their hands and rushed to Zhaojian by pulling the wire. Indeed, seeing this scene, Zhaojian was not far behind. Stomping under the ground, he shot the puppet that rushed out likewise. Chiyo, just these 2 puppets, you 2 look down on me. Zhaojian's voice fell, armament hockey followed his arm and quickly covered the body of the Chushui sword. Then he slashed the puppet who came straight forward. Tear. Tear. The steel wires in the hands of the 2 puppets have not been fully deployed. Zhaojian quickly swung the knife and cut it into several sections, and the puppet parts were scattered all over the place. Konoha village is really full of talents. Seeing that the puppet was beheaded, Chiyo could not help but feel a little bit emotional while hating secretly. Counting the war initiated by Sand Shinobi, she is considered a person who has experienced 3 wars. But every time a war broke out, Konoha would always spring up countless geniuses, and then turn the tide to end the war. This made him very jealous of Konoha while he hated Konoha. The land of the country of fire is so capable of supporting people. White secret skill 10 people near song. After sighing, Chiyo snorted sharply. Then directly in front of him, he threw off a scroll. Sacrifice his most powerful trick. Bang, 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 squirt. There was a loud noise. The purple chakra tossed over the scroll. 10 figures in white clothes suddenly emerged from the scroll. Are you finally serious? Seeing this scene, Zhaojian also improved his mind. After all, Chiyo's Jinmatsu 10 people. But it is known as a puppet technique with 1 machine. And the scope of this technique is also the level of S-rank ninjutsu. This can't help him to be casual and sloppy. At this time, the battle between Zhaojian and Chio also caused Sand Shinobi to quickly evacuate the neighborhood. The battle circle in the field also became empty. Bring it on. Let me see, the so-called ultimate puppet technique. Zhaojian exhaled, adjusted his state, concentrated on improving his concentration. After all, this is the first time he has played against cage level. When I was in Lulan before, the system also rated in Lucian as cage level. But that guy only relied on the external force of the dragon veins. His own strength is estimated to be at the level of Jonin. So this time, it is a real battle against the cage level powerhouse. Brush, 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 brush. Hearing what Zhaojian said, Chio was also completely welcome. With a sudden wave of both hands forward, the chakra line instantly connected to 10 puppets. Then he controlled the puppet and directly charged Zhaojian. Boom. It seems that this speed is not fast enough. So Chio controlled a puppet, quickly grabbed the puppet next to him, and slammed it at Zhaojian. Illustration. Frame. Shoo 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 shoo. The thrown puppet suddenly opened his mouth. A piece of gleaming thousand books, like a rainstorm pear flower needle, overwhelmingly covered Zhaojian. Undoubtedly, all of these attacks were poisoned. Wind-style vacuum sword. Rumble. The moment Zhaojian swung his knife, chakra surged. A wind wall directly took off his hand and whizzed out to the coming Chinbin. In the sound of ding, 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 all the poisonous shots that had been shot were instantly swept away by all of them. Boom. The wall of wind that whizzed out not only swept away all the 1,000 books. When hitting the puppet, it was also knocked out in an instant. However, these white puppets did not know what materials they were made of. Obviously, he was smashed to the ground, but he got up again unscathed. Kang. Rumbling. At this moment, a red-haired female puppet rushed up from behind, waving 2 big knives in his hands. The wind wall that Zhaojian waved directly was split into 2 halves from the middle. Then all the puppets swiftly followed the split gap and directly crossed the wind wall and hit it again. It really deserves to be a veteran cage level. Seeing this scene, Zhaojian couldn't help but sigh in his heart. These few fights alone have not yet officially started. But the combat power displayed by these puppets is no weaker than Jonin. No wonder these 10 people in the Song dynasty can be hailed as a single machine, with the strength to slaughter a city. But side and side, Zhaojian didn't have the slightest fear. His legs suddenly stepped on the ground, and he also shot out at the puppets. Bang! At this moment, Chio waved again. Another puppet was picked up and then thrown at Zhaojian again. The puppet that was thrown out suddenly bowed his head in midair. Several sharp blades stretched out from its neck in an instant. La la la. The blade is spinning fast on the neck, the speed is getting faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, the puppet was thrown over. As if against a fan, he slammed straight at Zhaojian. Juhaisian. Jump. The sound of breaking through the air sounded. After getting closer to the puppet, Zhaojian slammed on the ground again, speeding up and diving towards the puppet. The weapon in his hand was also swung out at extreme speed at this time. A black light rushed past Zhaojian's hands. The moment when I passed the puppet's head, which was like a propeller, was instantly cut into flight by Zhaojian. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, a puppet rushing from behind suddenly opened his mouth. Several small balls tied with the detonating talisman shot at Zhaojian instantly. Wind-style vacuum sword. Under super dynamic vision. Zhaojian, who found that the color of the ball was wrong, immediately used wind style again. All the shot balls were thrown off in an instant. Boom boom boom. The knocked ball fell on the ground and exploded in an instant. Bursts of thick purple smoke spread rapidly from the center of the explosion to the surroundings. In the area shrouded in purple smoke, the flowers and trees moved quickly and dried up. Then I was cut off from life. Seeing this scene, Zhaojian's pupils couldn't help but shrink. Illustration. Fortunately, I didn't care about it and didn't use a knife to cut these small balls. Otherwise, the ship might have capsized in the gutter. Think of the Second Ninja World War in the original book. Chio and Tsunade are the two. A battle for drug production and detoxification. Zhaojian suddenly became more vigilant. No Tsunade was present in this war, so it's better to be careful. Thinking of this, Zhaojian suddenly increased his physical energy consumption. The invisible armor wrapped around his body was 3-point thick again. At this time, the puppets and Zhao Jian also rushed together, and the melee confrontation broke out in an instant. The puppet whose head was beheaded by Zhao Jian before was actually not dead, because it was just a puppet. So it also quickly returned at this moment, against a headless body. Together with the puppets who came from behind, they formed a double-teaming tendency towards Zhao Jian. Clang 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 clang. The sound of Jintijiao's collision was continuous, and the sound was full of rush. 10 was originally in Zhao Jian's hands. That is just a simple matter. Zhao Jian himself thought so before. But after the confrontation, he knew he was wrong. These 10 puppets are all controlled by one person from Qiandai. So it is equivalent to Yixin. When they match each other, it is almost seamless. Front and back, left and right. Blind corners like squally rain. Suddenly Zhao Jian fell into a rush. Ding clang 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 clang. Even the sound of a piece of weapon colliding did not stop for even a second. However, Zhao Jian, who was in the encirclement, began to gradually adapt to the rhythm at this time. Dao Daoguang flashed past him from time to time. The black knife Chushui was in his hand and was waved impenetrably. And Qiu, who was manipulating the puppets off the court, was also sweating profusely at this time. She could clearly feel that Zhao Jian, who was in a suppressed state at the beginning, had gradually counterattacked. Moreover, his movements and posture have long since disappeared from the panic he had before, and on the contrary, they seem to become more stable and relaxed. Qiu, one machine is 1,000, it's nothing more than that. Zhao Jian, who had fully adapted to the rhythm, couldn't help but laugh. This combined attack of 10 people around Song Song, for others, may be really full of threats. But this is not the case for Zhao Jian. Because he is a kendo master, what he is best at is close combat. Before he was suppressed, it was exactly these few days, all of them were slashing the enemy with one blow. So it was not possible to switch the fighting method in time. Is this guy a monster? Seeing that Zhao Jian could speak so easily under his own siege, Qiandai suddenly became anxious. Once she was fighting against Konoha's White Fang. White Fang didn't dare to fall into the encirclement of the 10 people around her. But Zhao Jian at this time, not only did not rely on his speed to escape the encirclement. Instead, he was in the encirclement in a leisurely manner, and started to ridicule himself. The 1,000 generations in your village seem to be a little bad. Illustration. When Zhao Jian and Qiu broke out in battle. Naturally, it also attracted Orochimaru and Rosha who were fighting. So when they are fighting, they will also pay attention to the situation there from time to time. At this time, when Qiu was gradually at a disadvantage, Orochimaru couldn't help laughing. Hu. Luo Sha, who was breathing heavily, heard Orochimaru's words. He quickly squinted his eyes and rolled over. Then his expression began to become anxious. The hidden shadow has more snake hands. Just when Luosha was slightly distracted, Orochimaru's voice suddenly rang. Immediately afterwards, a dozen or so big bull snakes rushed out of his sleeve and bit directly at Luo Sha in the sky. Nani. After recovering, Luo Sha hurriedly kicked the sand pad under his feet and jumped back. This was just enough to escape the bite of the snakes. At this time, he was also startled in a cold sweat. What a pity. Looking at Luo Sha, who was sweating profusely, Orochimaru gave a sinister smile. However, Orochimaru at this moment was also a little helpless. Because Luo Sha seemed to be a rogue, staying high in the air all the time. This allowed Luo Sha to have a buffer distance to dodge for all his attacks. It is really difficult to hit him. Hoo 363. Luo Sha, who had escaped the blow, gasped slightly. At this moment, he was held up by Jinsha again and flew high again. He turned his head to look at Kikyo Castle, and then turned his head to look at the battlefield of Qiu. Rosha left Orochimaru directly and flew to Qiu quickly. Jingle bell, jingle bell. There are 10 people in the Song dynasty, is it only that way? As Zhao Jian dealt with the puppet's siege, he turned his head to look at Qiu outside the court. At this moment, the 1,000 generations who manipulated the puppets all danced a phantom on the spot. But even so, it still poses no threat to Zhao Jian. Of course, this does not mean that Qiu is weak. It's just that she happened to run into Zhao Jian's strengths. Hearing Zhao Jian's words, Chiyo gritted his teeth and accelerated again. And her whole person is like a ghost, an animal on the spot. But even so, Zhaojian didn't feel much pressure. In that case, then I have to fight back. Zhaojian glanced at Chiyo off the court again, and then said with a calm expression. After playing for so long, he already knew the 10 people in Jinsong very well. Their collocation is indeed very powerful. Before, I was still worried, afraid that their poisoned weapons would scratch myself a little. But after this battle, Zhaojian found out. Their attack strength is definitely not enough to break through their emission armor. Before, I was really too cautious. Thinking of this, Zhaojian no longer wielded his sword to defend. Jingle bells. Just when Zhaojian's hand swinging the knife stopped, all the puppets stabbed Zhaojian with various weapons at the same time. However, it was completely resisted by Armament Hockey's armor. How can it be? Chiyo, who witnessed this scene, was immediately shocked. Zhaojian had been swinging a knife to block before, causing her to forget that Zhaojian still had a layer of defense on her body. It's my turn. With a murmur, Zhaojian reached out and grabbed a puppet's arm. Then the black knife in his hand was lifted aloft. Ah 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 ah. Illustration. Chiyo roared suddenly, and the blade of the puppet stabbing Zhaojian's defense began to tremble. But even so, the weapon that radiated the gloom still didn't make the slightest progress. Kang. Boom. Zhaojian no longer hesitated. The black knife in his hand fell suddenly, instantly splitting a puppet from beginning to end in half. These white puppets are indeed very hard. But to Zhaojian, who has already reached the realm of steel cutting in kendo, it is actually not much different from tofu. What's more, on his weapon at this time, he also blessed Armament Hockey and the Wind Attribute Chakra. Lilele. Witnessing the destruction of the puppets, Chiyo suddenly waved his hand, and the puppets immediately dispersed. Seal. The lion snarled. Chiyo shouted. A backing puppet suddenly bowed and threw a roaring lion-faced ninja. Kang. Boom. Zhaojian waved his hand suddenly. A slash tens of meters high immediately knocked the seal technique back. At the same time, the puppets thrown out of the seal were also submerged under the slash. The puppets that were hit hard were disintegrated on the spot, turned into a pile of parts, and scattered. Chiyo-sama. Chiyo-sama. The sound of exclamation sounded off the court. San Shinobi, who have been around the battle ring for appearances, did not expect the situation to change so quickly. Obviously the other party was still surrounded by the puppets before, but only in an instant, the form has undergone such a big reversal. Zero. These low-eyed San Shinobi, how can they know that Chiyo has fallen short? The 3 treasures are sucked. At this moment, Chiyo shouted again. The 3 puppets were stacked on top of each other, forming a formation of the word character. In the sound of frame and frame, the 3 puppets opened their mouths at the same time. Boom rumble. In the triangle formation, a huge tornado suddenly blasted out. The violent suction pulled Zhaojian's wings instantly. Bath under the slash, turn into dust. Atomic slash. Because of his own weight, he was reduced by the Squid Girl's bracelet several times, so Zhaojian didn't hold on for too long, so he was sucked out by the tornado. But also at this moment, a slash that was more than 10 meters high and exuded dazzling white light was also swung out by Zhaojian. Pipipi. Silently. Wherever the slash passes, whether it is rock, soil, or grass clippings, it instantly turns into powder. A deep trench on the ground appeared silently. And the puppets who overlapped the finished word formation were also slashed, and disappeared without a trace. Brush 1. After annihilating the 3 puppets, the slashing showed no sign of stopping. Instead, he flew straight towards the 1,000 generations behind the puppet. Buzzing. The beep of the slash was passed to Chiyo's ears. Chiyo, who had a great alarm bell in his heart, directly abandoned the rest of the puppets and quickly jumped to the side. However, the slashing blow that came from her side brushed past her. Pipipi. Ah! A heart-piercing roar came from Chiyo's mouth. Illustration. I saw that her entire left forearm was also directly slashed to annihilate and disappeared. And at the fracture of the arm, red blood was still pouring out. The scene was bloody for a while. Chiyo-sama. Chiyo-sama. The Sand Shinobi outside the battle circle yelled in horror. Then he rushed directly into the ring and rushed towards the injured Chiyo. Jump. After Chiyo was injured, the remaining puppets lost control and all collapsed. And Zhaojian slammed on the ground at this time and rushed straight to the injured Chiyo. Protect Chiyo-sama. Seeing Zhaojian rushing, the sand shinobi who had flocked to Chiyo suddenly turned around and killed Zhaojian. Puff puff. Blossoms of blood floated in the air under Zhaojian's knife. The bloody smell slowly diffused again. The sand shinobi who rushed up, fell at the feet of Zhaojian one after another. They do not have the strength of 1,000 generations. Zhaojian killed them. All it takes is a simple raise of the hand. Magnet-style gold placer burial. At this moment, Luo Sha finally rushed over. Seeing that Zhaojian was killing Qiandai, he quickly separated his hands and waved at Zhaojian. Puff puff. Zhaojian, who is rushing all the way, is a super thinking. At this moment, the ground suddenly became soft and sandy. He had nowhere to borrow, and immediately sank into the sands. Ah! Luo Sha roared angrily when she saw a move in the morning 02. Immediately after the chakra on his body, it began to burst. He didn't care whether there was Sand Shinobi's companion beside Zhaojian. Directly use the ability to the maximum, the placer gold is wrapped in Zhaojian from all directions. Shoot it. Seeing that Zhaojian was trapped inside the sands, Luosha suddenly gasped and became overjoyed. But at this moment, a feeling of heart palpitations suddenly spread to his heart. Rumble. The loud noise suddenly erupted. The heavy sands also burst suddenly at this moment. A slash of more than 20 meters high directly broke through the sands. Towards Luosha in the sky, he roared out violently. Armor of golden sand. Luo Sha shouted in horror. The golden sand under his feet instantly wrapped him into a ball. Just at this time, the roaring slash also rushed to him. Boom! The slash immediately flooded Luosha and flew him straight away. A painful voice faintly came from the roaring slash. Rosa! Chiom yelled, about to split. She just got up with pain and just witnessed the scene of Luosha being submerged. Retreat! Chio's right hand, holding tightly to the bleeding left arm. The sound of his exhausted retreat resounded over the entire battlefield. Illustration: she was seriously injured at the moment, and Luo Sha's life or death is unknown. Sand Shinobi's two highest combat powers were unable to fight anymore at this time. If you continue to fight at this time, no one can stop Zhaojian and Orochimaru anymore. To avoid more losses to the team, Chiyo had no choice but to give the order to retreat. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud noise. Another slash, from where Zhaojian was, roared out. But the goal this time is the direction that Chiyo is in. Quickly disperse. The strong instinct made Chiyo immediately alert. The moment Zhaojian slashed again, he jumped out with feeling in his heart. However, the sand shinobi who were rushing to protect him around her were not as lucky as her. When a piece of blood passed by slashing and roaring, it immediately reddened the surrounding ground. Retreat! Retreat! Retreat quickly! Chiyo-sama has given an order. Chiyo and roar reached everyone's ears. Then the retreat sound reminded one after another in the army that sand shinobi attacked. Nah! Some sand shinobi, who was attacking, hurriedly turned around and retreated. The sand shinobi who were fighting Konoha quickly pushed back the enemy and jumped directly off the wall. Scorch style, it's too steamy to kill a big explosion. Yi Kang, who was fighting with Kushina on the wall, also heard the sound of retreat. So quickly condensed a great fireball. Suddenly hit the ground. I've seen the power of this ninjutsu before, so Kushina didn't dare to neglect. The chains of adamantine sealing chains instantly defended her tightly against the package. And Yi Kang also took advantage of this opportunity. Jumped directly outside the city wall. Just a few breaths of time. Sand shinobi who originally fought in Kikyo Castle. It was like the tide, all retreated. Indeed. After Luo Sha was chopped and flew away, the golden sand on the ground also gradually stopped sinking. Zhaojian slammed on the ground again. From the big hole full of golden sand, it burst out directly. The sonic boom that broke through the air brought a cloud of golden dust behind him. For a while, the golden light that set off him was like a god descending to the world. Wind style, spiral shuriken. Zhaojian, who had not landed in the air, instantly produced an S-class wind style. Then he threw directly at the sand shinobi who retreated like a tide. Rumble, a violent mushroom cloud rises. In an instant, more than 30 people were buried under Zhaojian. Ding! Congratulations to the master for killing 37 enemies and gaining 2,023,630 prestige points. Ding. Congratulations to the master for completing the hidden mission thousands of people / and reward 50,000 prestige points. Close black lens bracket. Nani. Asterisk. Zhaojian, who had just landed, wanted to frustrate a spiral shuriken again. But the sound of the system made him suddenly stunned. Did you complete another hidden mission yourself? Illustration. Thousands of people cut. Reward 50,000 prestige points. When Zhaojian thought, a transparent interface was instantly displayed in front of him. The amount of prestige shown above has already reached as much as 122,000 points. It's time for an advanced lottery draw. Looking at the prestige value in front of him, Zhaojian's heart was hot. Zhaojian-kun, you were really rushing to kill. Orochimaru did not know when, he had already come to Zhaojian's side. Looking at the mushroom cloud rising in the distance, Orochimaru's eyes were all jealous. Wind style. Spiral shuriken. Orochimaru's voice pulled Zhaojian back. Looking at the sand shinobi who fled, Zhaojian was unceremonious and threw another shot of wind style. These enemies are attractive prestige points to Zhaojian. Boom boom boom. In Orochimaru's horrified eyes. Zhaojian continued again, throwing out 3 spiral shurikens. This completely consumed the amount of chakra in his body. Rumble. 3 mushroom clouds form a row. The violent wind is tearing each other. The whole scene was like a doomsday natural disaster when a meteorite fell to the ground. Sand shinobi's retreating army came with bursts of hiss and lung-cracking shouts, and even shouts of cursing. All sand shinobi at this moment can't wait to grow 2 more legs. Because they always feel that they are running too slowly. Ding. Congratulations to the master for killing 134 enemies and gaining 7,236 prestige points. Open black lens bracket. Ding. 5,366 enemies fear the owner and gain 5,366 prestige points. Close black lens bracket. Cool. Hearing the prompt sound in his mind, Zhaojian was in a great mood. Sure enough, it is the most tangible thing to lose big moves to earn prestige. The amount of chakra in Zhaojian-kun is really huge. Orochimaru's eyebrows couldn't help but twitched, and he said with a smirk in his voice. After this battle, he now has a new understanding of Zhaojian. In a word, Zhaojian is a strong man. And he is a very powerful cage-level powerhouse. Fighting against this kind of guy, I guess the sand shinobi at this time are also desperate. Thinking of this, Orochimaru suddenly felt pity and sympathy for sand shinobi. Let's go. I glanced at the sand shinobi who had run away. Zhaojian waved the blood from the body of Chushui's knife. Then Chushui was put into the sheath, and he turned his head and smiled at Orochimaru. He is in a good mood. At this moment, Orochimaru is more pleasing to the eye than before. Master Zhaojian, Master Zhaojian. When the two walked slowly to the front of Kikyo Castle, the Konoha defenders above the city wall suddenly burst into loud cheers. Contrary to the panic of the sand shinobi, the morale of the Konoha defenders was boosted at this time. Victory in the first battle. Let them, who have just arrived in Kikyo City, are all extremely excited at this moment. Because they all made a difference. And Zhaojian is undoubtedly the first contributor of this credit. Because he defeated Sand Shinobi's Chiyo and Rosa. This allowed Sand Shinobi to be forced to evacuate. Otherwise, this is the war, and it would never be finished so easily. And Zhaojian just bombed Sand Shinobi with the S-class wind style. It also made them more respectful of Zhaojian. This is the charm of the strong. Zhaojian laughed at the Konoha shinobi and nodded, and walked straight up along the city wall. When he walked to the wall, his eyes looked at Kushina first. Finding that Kushina was not injured, Zhaojian was relieved. After all, the Sand Shinobi's attack on the city wall just now was actually quite violent. Sunagakur position, inside the medical camp. At this moment, Chiyo was enduring severe pain, dealing with the injury of his left arm. She is not only a super puppet master. At the same time, she is also the best medical ninja in Sunagakur. So she refused the help of other medical ninjas. He chose to do it himself to treat his injuries. Master Chiyo, we found Luo Sha. At this time, an anxious voice sounded from outside the medical camp. I saw a few Sand Shinobi who were cautiously using a stretcher to carry Luo Sha in. How's it going? How's Luo Sha? Qiandai, who had lost too much blood, looked a little pale at the moment. But when she heard that Luo Sha was found, she didn't care about continuing to treat herself. Healing Jutsu, who was directly dispersing his right palm, quickly rushed to the stretcher carrying Luo Sha. Rose's situation is very serious. It's a miracle that he can hold on till now. A Sand Shinobi executive next to the stretcher spoke to Chiyo. And the voice was full of surprise and incredible. Because on Luosha's chest, there is a very terrifying, top-down scar. The depth of his injury directly split the appearance of his chest. A row of ribs on the chest was also broken. Even the internal organs in his chest that were beating lightly at this time were directly exposed under everyone's eyelids. Fortunately, none of the broken ribs pierced the internal organs. Otherwise, what they brought back at this time was a cool Luosha. Hurry up, bring it in. Also, call me all medical ninjas. Seeing Luo Sha's chest injury, Chiyo was also shocked. Then he screamed out quickly and summoned all the medical ninjas in the position. When all the medical ninjas got orders and hurried to the scene. Chiyo also directly knocked 2 grain pills in his mouth, and participated in Luosha's rescue together. At this moment Luosha is in the midst of life hanging by a thread. She didn't care, she was also a seriously injured person. First aid for wind and fire was carried out in an emergency tent in Sand Shinobi. The other Sand Shinobi commanders and captains all stopped outside the door, quietly waiting for the news. Luo Sha is in this group of Sand Shinobi, second only to Chiyo in strength. And also Sand Shinobi's only cage-level powerhouse in this war. Unexpectedly, the first battle. Actually he was beaten up like this. This caused all the Sand Shinobi commanders present to fall into a suppressed silence. Time slowly goes by. The rescue of Luosha. It continued until the sun was westward. Chiyo was pale and staggered, and walked out of the emergency tent. Master Chiyo, how is Luosha? Seeing Chiyo coming out, a group of Sand Shinobi who had been waiting for a long time hurriedly came up. Everyone stared at Chiyo eagerly, waiting for her answer. At the same time, my heart also raised slightly nervously. Temporarily out of danger to life. But it will take a long time to recover. Chiyo's voice is full of weakness and solemnity. Luo Sha's injury is the heaviest she has ever seen in her life. Just as they said before, good king is good. It was like a miracle that he could persist until he was carried to the medical field. In the first aid tent before, dozens of medical ninjas were continuously treated with healing jutsu. This allowed Luo Sha's chest to recover and escape the danger. Ah, that's great. Losaji, the heavens of the people. Yes, the previous injury is simply terrifying. Get the news that Luosha is out of danger. A group of Sand Shinobi could not help but exhale. Then his expression relaxed at this time. Looking at a group of companions who seemed to be left behind. Chiyo didn't feel the slightest ease, but felt more dignified. Because of this, all Luosha in the defensive state was cut into severely wounded slashes. In Baiyun Zhaojian's hands, it was a means that he could use at his fingertips. Looking at his empty left arm, Chiyo felt that this battle had become even more tricky. It was in the hot spring shop where Zhaojian woke up before. At this moment Zhaojian was leaning up and down, soaking beautifully in the hot spring pool. He is now more and more enjoying the habit of taking a bath after the war. Because this can not only rush away, but because of the violent slaying he has produced. At the same time, it can quickly relieve physical fatigue after battle. Zhaojian originally wanted to pull Kushina. Let her take a serious mixed bath with herself to relieve her physical fatigue. But I don't know why, Kushina heard that Zhaojian was going to the hot spring shop. Suddenly it was like a guilty conscience, and he refused to follow Zhaojian alive and well. This makes Zhaojian feel a little strange. But since Kushina did not come, Zhaojian did not force her, so he came alone. What? System, use advanced lottery. After taking a sip of heat comfortably, Zhaojian squinted, leaning against the hot spring pool, and communicating with the system. Okay, master. Ding. After deducting 100,000 points of prestige, the balance is 34,602 points. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket premium lottery is being launched. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Devil Fruit Thunder Fruit Golden. Congratulations to the owner. A pair of phone bugs blew. Congratulations to the host for obtaining devil fruit sparkling fruit golden. Another pile of debris was taken out, and then 3 items with great colors showed one by one. And Zhaojian himself was directly stunned by the content of this lottery. In a lottery draw, actually draw 2 high-level rewards. And they are all top-notch, Logia devil fruit. This probability is too small, right? Ding. Ask the owner to choose, I want to eat devil fruit. Hear the sound of the system. Zhaojian was immediately full of hesitation. Because these 2 devil fruits are both the top of devil fruit, this makes it difficult for him to decide for a while. Can you eat 2 together? After thinking about it, Zhaojian, who was still difficult to choose, asked the system. There are 200 yuan bills on the ground, you ask me which one I want to pick up. This is the feeling in Zhaojian's heart at this time. Ding. No. The sound of the system is heard. Zhaojian was a little disappointed suddenly. But at this moment, the voice of the system rang again. However, the owner can consume 10,000 points of prestige and fuse 2 devil fruits into a brand new devil fruit. In this way, the new devil fruit can have the characteristics of 2 fruits at the same time. The ability to use 2 fruits at the same time, or the ability to use one of them alone. Fusion. The system still has this function. Hearing the voice in his head, Zhaojian looked surprised. I really didn't expect that the system still has such a function. Ding. The system is omnipotent. Close black lens bracket. The voice in my mind seemed to become a bit stinky. But Zhaojian at this time didn't bother. Now that you can fuse fruits, you don't have any difficulty in choosing. Illustration. Fuse me with devil fruit. Zhaojian's voice was filled with determination and fiery heat. The abilities of the 2 top fruits are combined in one, and I feel a little emotional when I think about it. Ding. After deducting 10,000 points of prestige, the balance is 24,602 points. Close black lens bracket. Ding. Congratulations to the master, get the lightning fruit. After the system deducts the corresponding prestige value, the 2 devil fruit cards immediately merged together. A brand new, pineapple-shaped devil fruit was born. Its faint golden light flashes. Outside the thunder arc wandered. The new devil fruit, from the outside, shows it's extraordinary. Excuse me, do I need to use the lightning fruit? Use. Zhaojian stared at the brand new devil fruit with fiery eyes. Hearing the voice of the system, he immediately replied decisively. Just when Zhaojian's voice fell, the card flew directly out of the system interface and directly into his body. A special energy immediately spread from his stomach to the whole body. Devil fruit is changing Zhaojian's physique. His body immersed in the hot spring was raging with golden light for a while, and arcing raged for a while. The surrounding pool water also made the sound of pee-pee from time to time. More than 10 breaths of time passed. Call. Is this the power of devil fruit? Zhaojian closed his eyes and muttered to himself ACDA in the mouth. He can clearly experience the very special violent energy in his body. It can be fused together and used at the same time, or it can be peeled off separately. Try it. Can't wait to experience new abilities. Zhaojian lifted his hands from the pool. Thoughts move. The energy in the body suddenly rushed to his hands. In the blink of an eye, my hands glowed with dazzling golden light and white light. The thought moved again, and Jin Guang and Bai Meng were completely stripped away. The right hand turned into a golden light, while the left hand was filled with violent thunder. Hoo-hoo. Blackbeard in one piece, that's how it feels, right? Zhaojian exhaled in excitement. Holding the 2 abilities in his hands, he suddenly felt that his self-confidence was overwhelming at this moment. After playing with the abilities for a while, Zhaojian took the abilities back into his body. Then I closed my eyes and recalled the skills of these 2 fruits in my mind. Develop devil fruit or something. Of course it is the fastest to learn from. Haven't fully grasped devil fruit's ability before. Zhaojian doesn't want to develop new special skills by himself for the time being. At dusk, Zhaojian came out of the hot spring shop. After soaking in the hot spring for a long time, he felt his body softened. Send this victory to the village as soon as possible. Understood, Lord Orochimaru. As soon as he returned to the outside of Kikyo Castle, the gate tower, Zhaojian heard Orochimaru's voice. Then a ninja holding a scroll came out of the command post of the gate tower. Illustration. Master Zhaojian, the Konoha shinobi who came out, the moment they saw Zhaojian. The admiration was immediately seen, and he bowed directly to Zhaojian. Are you going back to the village? Zhaojian nodded, then asked. Yes, Lord Zhaojian. Being able to talk to Zhaojian, the ninja seemed very excited, his face flushed. Come, come, come. You come here, I beg you one thing. Hearing that he was indeed going back to the village, Zhaojian immediately pulled him aside. He turned his head and looked around, making sure that Kushina was not there. Zhaojian was in the curious eyes of the ninja. Take a peculiar snail from the backpack of the system. Master Zhaojian, what is this? The ninja had questions on his face. But it was interrupted by Zhaojian. Don't worry about what it is, you help me take it back to the village. Then hand it over to the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Makoto. Although I'm tired of being with Kushina these days. But Zhaojian hasn't seen Makoto for many days. Saying that you don't want to miss it is fake. Now that the system draws a lottery, a phone worm has been drawn. That can just be delivered to Makoto's hands, let the two talk on the phone, and relieve the lovesickness. At noon the next day, Kushina was alone and walked into the headquarters of the city gate. Where is Zhaojian-kun? Didn't he come here? Seeing that Kushina came here alone, Orochimaru was immediately curious, asked. And the other Jonins all have the same expression. They were obviously already at this time, waiting for Zhaojian and Juxunai for a long time. He said he will develop a new technique today. So he won't participate in today's meeting. Seeing everyone looking at herself, Kushina nodded and answered seriously. In fact, she didn't understand what Zhaojian was doing. But since Zhaojian said so, Kushina did not ask. What? Develop new techniques. Everyone in the command post, including Orochimaru, had a dumb expression on their faces. Brother, this is the time of war, and it is still on the front line of war. When can you not develop? Do you have to develop at this time? And your strength is already so powerful. Can't you wait for a while before you develop your new technique? Everyone is a black line. They originally planned. Today, taking advantage of Sand Shinobi's Chio's serious injury, and Luo Sha's life and death are unknown. Launched a counterattack against Sand Shinobi and drove them directly out of the Land of Fire. But Zhaojian did not suffer this time. All their plans fell through. Because of their nearly 3,000 people, they went to fight the remaining 5,000 people in Sand Shinobi village. There must be Zhaojian and Orochimaru, these two cage-level powerhouses, to attack the first line at the same time. Otherwise, if they rushed up with the number of them at this time, at most, they would fight to lose both. How many days will he develop? Naruluju and Inoshika Cho asked helplessly. There is no Zhaojian and Orochimaru fighting together. Their idea of counterattack must be given up today. He said that one day would be enough. Thinking of what Zhaojian had said before, Kushina was also a little embarrassed. However, she still answered everyone according to Zhaojian's previous statement. Daytime. Hear Kushina's answer. Everyone in the headquarters couldn't help but stare at each other. What technique can he develop in one day? No matter how genius Zhaojian is. But the time of this day is really too hasty, right? This is simply a play and nonsense. Ha ha ha. Since Zhaojian-kun is going to develop ninjutsu today, let's move on to today's battle plan. Orochimaru thought for a moment. Also smiled and comforted everyone present. One day is only, not too long, they can afford to wait. And he had a hunch that Zhaojian shouldn't be aiming at nothing. Orochimaru replenishes the brain to guess. Zhaojian, which is currently being developed, most likely started before. Only until today, the development process has entered the final stage. Think of the wind-style spiral shuriken, developed by Zhaojian before. Orochimaru also became inexplicably interested in the new technique he was developing at this time. Will it be a powerful S-rank ninjutsu this time? Hey, it can only be so. Hearing Orochimaru's words, everyone also shook their heads helplessly. Although Zhaojian's actions at this time seemed a little willful. But no one spoke out to accuse Zhaojian. Who is there to let the strength of the family be? And Orochimaru, the commander-in-chief, didn't say anything. Where is their turn to blame others? Outside of Kikyo Castle, in a deep canyon, boom boom boom. The violent explosion sound has resounded here for nearly an hour. Because of the skills of these two fruits, there are corresponding characters for them to learn from. Therefore, Zhaojian did not encounter much difficulty in developing the fruit ability. He learned almost all the skills of the release class. Only teleportation type and some auxiliary type skills he has not been able to control at present. Logia Devil Fruit is indeed the easiest fruit to develop, because most of Logia's attacks are just released directly. God's verdict, Zhaojian yelled, and his right hand slammed forward. His entire forearm suddenly shined brightly. Then the golden lightning thunder, which two people can hug together, shot out in an instant. Rumble. There was a loud noise. A bottomless pit appeared on the cliff of the canyon after the beam of light dissipated. There was smoke and dust all around, and rubble scattered all over the ground. It shows that these attacks have great power. Hoo-hoo. A lot of vigorous development made Zhaojian consume a lot. So he lay on a boulder, rested slowly to recover his strength. The ninja who reported the battle back to the village should have arrived at Konoha, right? I wonder if he sent the phone bug to Makoto. I thought of yesterday's account of the people who reported the good news yesterday. Zhaojian immediately took out his other phone worm. Konoha Village. In the meeting room of the Hokage building. Ha ha ha, good job, good job. After listening to the ninja returning from Kikyo Castle and reporting another victory in person, third generation suddenly laughed. After the outbreak of this war, the 3 intelligence reports that came to sleep were all good news. This made Konoha's high-level people almost blooming with laughter. Because of the war, the heaviness that had hung in everyone's hearts had already disappeared at this time. This Baiyun Zhaojian is too powerful. Who said no? Not only did Sunagaku's newly promoted cage-level powerhouse Luo Sha be beheaded, but also one of Chio's arm was cut off. This record is simply too powerful. Yeah, from the first time I received information from him about 100 people / I realized that he was extraordinary, but I didn't expect him to be so strong. Yeah. Loud and noisy discussions lingered in the conference room. There are sounds of exclamation, and there are sounds of shock. There were even NPC flattering and loud applause. And in all the sounds, there is a taste of celebration and joy. Seeing that the whole conference room was cheering up with the good news on the front line, Danzo felt a little bit of liver pain. At this moment, he regretted very much, regretting that he had provoked Zhaojian before. He has set up such a contradiction for himself. Brew, 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 bu. In the entire conference room, when all was in joy, a strange sound suddenly rang. Chapter 111. Brew, 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 bu. The strange sound rang, and the meeting room gradually became quiet. Everyone followed the prestige, only then found out. It turned out that the voice came from the person who reported the news. What is ringing? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked puzzled and frowned at the winner. The other high-level officials and the patriarchs of all ethnic groups also turned their heads and focused their attention on the people who reported the victory. I don't know this either. Being watched by so many high-level officials, the good news personnel were also sweating profusely. Put down the backpack behind him, and quickly flipped through it. Only then did he find the source of the strange sound. It was before Zhaojian. I asked him to bring Makoto, the strange snail. Look, I found it. With sweating profusely, the victorious news officer took the snail out of his backpack, 367. So everyone's eyes immediately gathered in his hands. What is this? Why make such a weird noise? Third generation frowned and asked again. Everyone else is also confused. They have lived for most of their lives and have never seen such a strange snail. I don't know, Master Zhaojian told me to bring it back. The victory staff wiped the sweat from their foreheads and quickly explained to everyone. Being watched by all the high-level towns in the village made him feel Alexander for a while. Zhaojian, I told you to bring it back. Hearing Zhaojian's name, everyone in the meeting room seemed even more puzzled. Now there is all news about Zhaojian. Can arouse their curiosity. Yes, Master Zhaojian asked me to bring this thing to Uchiha Makoto of the Uchiha clan. The victory staff glanced at his hand, still calling a snail, and quickly answered honestly. For Uchiha Makoto. Hear the words of the winners. Everyone turned their eyes around again. I looked at a beautiful figure behind Uchiha's elder. For me, I heard that it was Zhaojian, something to give myself. Makoto suddenly became confused and stood out from behind the elder. You are Uchiha Makoto. The victorious staff were also a little dazed at the moment. I didn't expect that the person I planned to find in a while was actually here. Yes, I am Uchiha Makoto. Makoto nodded, then looked at the snail. She was also full of doubts, and she didn't understand Zhaojian, what made people bring a strange snail to herself. Since it is you, leave it to you. Again, but without making a mistake. The triumphant person hurriedly handed the snail out. What on earth is this? After receiving the snail that kept calling, Makoto also asked the question that third generation asked before. I do not know either. But Master Zhaojian asked me to explain to you, as long as the snail rang, you would lift the lid on its back. The good news officer shook his head, and then seriously exhorted Makoto. Bluebrub. Hearing the words of the winner, Makoto looked at the snail again. Then carefully, he uncovered what looked like a lid on its back. Blue blue blue, click. Moses Moses, is it Makoto? Just when Makoto uncovered the snail's body, the snail's call stopped suddenly. Then the snail opened its mouth and began to talk. And the expression and tone of the snail seemed exactly the same as Zhaojian. There was a strange silence in the entire conference room. Moses Moses, is it Makoto? I didn't hear anyone answer myself. So Zhaojian's voice was spit out from the snail's mouth again. Morning Zhaojian-kun, is it you? Makoto held the snail in one hand, and in the other hand the microphone that was just picked up and a wire connected to the snail. Ha 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 ha, it's me, I didn't expect it. The moment Makoto spoke, the snail on Zhaojian's hand also imitated Makoto's demeanor. Zhaojian couldn't help laughing with his dumb and cute look. You are really Zhaojian-kun. Looking at the snail's expression at this time, Makoto exclaimed in unbelievable exclamation. In the meeting room, everyone looked face to face. At this moment, they seemed to suddenly understand the function of the snail in Makoto's hand. It's me, Makoto. I miss you so much. I haven't seen you in a few days. Have you missed me? Zhaojian didn't know that there was a group of people watching beside Makoto. So I told Makoto my thoughts without reservation. Morning Zhaojian-kun. Zhaojian's voice just fell. Makoto's cheeks immediately turned red. The phone worm in Zhaojian's hands also mimicked Makoto's shy appearance at the moment. This surprised Zhaojian for a while. He didn't expect Makoto to be so shy when talking on the phone. Cough cough, cough cough. Is it Zhaojian? Just when Zhaojian was surprised, the phone worm suddenly coughed. Then an old-fashioned voice was simulated by the phone worm. Third generation lord. Zhaojian looked reluctant. How can he not hear? This is Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice. Zhaojian, nah. Our group of old guys are meeting in the Hokage building. We can hear everything you just said. Ha 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 ha. Just when Zhaojian looked confused, suddenly the phone simulated an old voice again. It was the one who laughed, Grand Elder Uchiha. Shrimp. Zhaojian's face was embarrassed and he was simulated by the phone worm in Makoto's hands. It immediately caused a burst of laughter in the conference room. Zhaojian was immediately embarrassed. Unexpectedly, I actually sprinkled a wave of dog food in front of a large group of people. No wonder why Makoto was suddenly so shy before. It turns out that there are outsiders present. Zhaojian, what on earth is this? After a burst of laughter, Sarutobi Hiruzen also walked to Makoto's side. Then he asked suspiciously. Hearing the question from third generation, everyone in the conference room also pricked their ears. This thing can actually be allowing two parties that are so far apart to communicate. This is simply an intelligence weapon in war. Hearing the question of third generation, Zhaojian made up a reason without changing his face. The content is that when I was practicing summoning, I was reversed summoning because of a mistake. And these two snails are what they brought out from an unknown place. I named it Phone Worm. There is no wonder in the world. After hearing Zhaojian's answer, third generation nodded with emotion. There was no flaw in Zhaojian's answer, and third generation did not doubt Zhaojian. Because Jiraiya also practiced the wrong summoning technique at the beginning, by mistake, he was reversed summoning to Mount Myoboku. This made him have some adventures, counterattack from the tail of the crane to become a hero of World War II. Therefore, third generation believes that Zhaojian has also encountered a similar adventure. Zhaojian, nah, can you still find that unknown holy place? After sighing, third generation asked again. If Konoha could have more phone bugs. The inside of the village can share information with the front line at the same time. In this case, various orders and dispatches can be immediately implemented on the front line. The time course of information transmission is missing. Konoha's winning rate can be at least doubled. Can't find it. Zhaojian sighed and shrugged purposely. The phone worm also clearly imitated Zhaojian's demeanor to the high-level Konoha people. So regretful sounds rang in the conference room of the Hokage building. Such a powerful intelligence tool missed Konoha. Pity. Sarutobi Hiruzen also sighed. The two sides chatted with each other again. Then Zhaojian gave Makoto's phone worm. It was temporarily requisitioned by third generation on the grounds of the war period. Zhaojian's teeth were sore, and his heart was extremely regretful. If you know you should be at night, just contact Makoto on. Get it now. The hope of talking on the phone with Makoto was also dashed. When he hung up, Zhaojian's physical strength almost recovered. After throwing away his helplessness, he once again developed the skills of the lightning fruit. At this moment, Sunagakur, the day to declare war on Konoha. 7 full days have passed. Kurigakure and Cloud Shinobi Village also received information about the outbreak of the war one after another. Kurigakure immediately called an emergency meeting and began to gather the team in full swing. And Cloud Shinobi Village, the grumpy third Raikage. With a kick, he directly kicked a hole in the Cloud Shinobi building, and then resolutely declared the war. Cloud Shinobi Village in Thunder Country is a village that highly respects military expansion. Therefore, the team is assembled at this moment, and the speed is also very fast. In just one afternoon, an army of 5,000 people has been assembled. Then, under the personal leadership of third generation I, he went straight to the country of fire. In the future, fourth generation I and Killer Bee also followed third generation. As for Konoha village, it was Iwagakure who received information almost at the same time, and the assembly had already been completed. And various preparations are also very substantial. But they didn't immediately rush over to fight Konoha. The cunning Onoki first estimated Cloud Shinobi's information and sent it to the village. Only then led the team and marched towards the country of fire. He deliberately delayed for 2 days, just to wait for Cloud Shinobi village to activate the muscles. At this time, the two sides set off almost at the same time. Konoha will fall into a state of being attacked by the enemy, and the combat power will be reduced by 3 points again. It was when Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi village had some action. Konoha's intelligence personnel lurking outside also rushed forward and brought back the information and trends of the two villages to Konoha. Time passed quickly when Zhaojian developed devil fruit. The sun goes down, and night falls. Soon a new day is ushered in. At noon the next day, Zhaojian and Kushina came to the headquarters of the city gate again. And Konoha's commanders all gathered here and waited. They are not as relaxed as Zhaojian. So except when the war starts, they stay here most of the time. Master Zhaojian, Master Kushina, Zhaojian and Makoto, when they walked outside the headquarters. The ninja who was on duty outside the command post immediately bowed in excitement. And his somewhat excited greetings immediately let everyone in the command headquarters know that Zhaojian and Kushina had arrived. Nodded to the ninja on duty. Zhaojian and Kushina went straight to the headquarters. Zhaojian-kun, has the development of the new technique been completed? After the two entered the command post, Orochimaru, who was on the first seat of the command table, spoke first. The other people also looked at them curiously. They also want to know if Zhaojian has used the best time to counterattack to develop new techniques, whether there are any results. Already done. Zhaojian nodded and smiled irresponsibly. Then and Kushina sat in their respective positions. Hehe, Zhaojian-kun's new technique is really curious. Orochimaru smiled hoarsely, and then announced that the meeting had officially started. However, Zhaojian suddenly interrupted everyone at this moment. And he took out a snail and put it on the conference table. Strange behavior, strange creatures, immediately aroused everyone's curiosity. But Zhaojian did not explain. Instead, he dialed up on his own. Anyway, they will know the effect of the phone worm soon. Blue, 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 taste. In the meeting room of the Konoha Village Hokage building. The phone worm's voice just rang, and it was answered immediately. Moses is Zhaojian-kun. Beautiful operator, Makoto's sweet voice. It was the first to spread from the mouth of the phone worm. In the headquarters of the city gate, everyone instantly fell into a bewildered state. A snail, did you actually speak? Ahem, Makoto. This is the Kikyo Castle headquarters, are they there, third generation? Kagura noticed Kushina and looked at him suspiciously. Zhaojian immediately squeezed a cold sweat, and then immediately answered with a serious voice. Now is not the time to confess and be lenient. He still didn't want the two women to be aware of each other's existence. He is not mentally prepared yet. Zhaojian, we are all here, just waiting for your call. Yeah, just when everyone was puzzled. The voice of third generation rang from the phone bug. Then various familiar voices came out afterwards. The voice of Lord Nani, third generation. I seem to have heard the voice of our patriarch. I heard the voice of the village elder. Everyone in the command center immediately looked at each other, their faces full of disbelief. Seeing their appearance, Zhaojian immediately raised his hand and briefly introduced the role of the phone worm. Everyone suddenly realized, unexpectedly, there is such a magical communication creature. Master third generation, in accordance with the requirements of the village. The phone worm is connected, our side is also ready to start the meeting. Zhaojian coughed and said solemnly. He just wants to end the meeting as soon as possible, and then hang up the phone worm. It saves that Makoto speaks again, let Kushina find out some clues. Well, let's start, we'll just be here to listen. The voice of third generation came from the mouth of the phone worm. Moreover, the phone worm also vividly imitates the look of third generation. It was as if he was personally on the front line of the war. This made the people in the headquarters of Kikyo City feel inexplicably excited. At this moment, they feel that waiting for others is like holding a meeting with the seniors. For a while, everyone was a little energetic. Understood. Zhaojian nodded and put the phone worm in the center of the conference table. Then he raised his hand and motioned to Orochimaru, giving him the right to speak in the meeting. After all, he is the commander-in-chief of the front line. Orochimaru glanced at the phone worm with a little interest. Then he nodded and began to make combat arrangements. A unique remote meeting was officially held. Because there are high-level villagers listening in. So everyone in the conference room wants to show themselves well. So after the combat meeting began, everyone enthusiastically expressed their opinions. The Konoha executives also use phone bugs from time to time to give some reasonable suggestions to supplement. A pre-war meeting that should have been full of seriousness at this moment seemed to suddenly change its flavor. The dignified atmosphere of the war disappeared in an instant. The above is the content of this battle. At the end of the pre-war meeting, Orochimaru glanced around the crowd. After seeing no one doubted, he said to the phone worm. Well, we understand, I wish you all the best. The third generation bit the pipe and looked encouraging, and was imitated by the phone bug. This pre-war meeting made everyone feel very novel. And this process of saving information transmission not only saves time, at the same time, they have become more confident about the battle plan. Because the high-level people are also in the audience, if something goes wrong, the high-level people will certainly speak out to discourage it. And since they did not dissuade, it proves that the high levels also agreed to the battle plan. This makes them less pressured by many uncertain factors. At the end of the meeting, Zhaojian got up and hung up the phone worm. Orochimaru announced the dissolution of the meeting, prompting everyone to assemble the team quickly. After all, a brigade of 3,000 people. They are not gathered in a camp to rest. Teacher, are you going to launch a counterattack? As soon as Zhaojian and Kushina walked out of the gate tower, Kakashi greeted them curiously. He also smelled an unusual smell from the scattered Jonins. Well, get ready. Zhaojian nodded and patted Kakashi on the shoulder. This is not Konoha's most critical moment. Therefore, the village did not send genins to the battlefield. So at this moment in Kikyo Castle, Kakashi is the youngest ninja. In the original book, he participated in the 3 wars only when he was 9 years old. At this time he was just over 7 years old, nearly 2 years earlier than in the original book. Yes, Teacher Zhaojian, Kakashi nodded solemnly. After several days of war, he has obviously become more mature. This makes Zhaojian quite satisfied. After all, there is still a task on him. Kakashi needs to be promoted to Jonin as soon as possible. Although the reward for the task, only 5,000 prestige points. But no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat, isn't it? The captains and commanders who were scattered all quickly called up all the teams. The order to counterattack was issued. There was another encouragement before the war. Then the gate of Kikyo Castle was opened. The Konoha team of more than 3,000 people. Together mighty. Towards Tsunagakur's camp, he rushed to the past. Tsunagakur position, in the headquarters. Chiyo-sama, are you okay? All Sand Shinobi high-level commanders are all in the town of Chiyo. At this moment, Chiyo's broken left arm has been attached to a puppet prosthesis by her. And it seems that flexibility seems to be quite high. No, when the old body gets familiar with it, the strength can be restored to the same level as before. Looking at the puppet arm that was constantly moving according to his own will, Chiyo also nodded in satisfaction. Although the arm was directly beheaded by Zhaojian. But after putting on this arm, her strength will not affect much. After all, in the original work, Chiyo did it too. It just changed from the right hand to the left hand at this time. Report. At this time, a stretched voice sounded outside the door. A perception ninja broke into the command post breathlessly. Report to Chiyo-sama, sirs. The Konoha defenders of Kikyo City are coming collectively towards our camp. At this time, they are less than 10 kilometers away from us. After perceiving ninja enter the door, he bowed to everyone, and then he hurriedly spoke out. What? Konoha is coming. 3,000 people do not guard the city. Instead, they rushed to me and waited for 5,000 people to come. Good Wang Zhao. Konoha has won a few battles. Do you think Sand Shinobi is so bullied? It's so rampant. Hearing that Konoha took the initiative to attack, the high-level commanders of Sand Shinobi suddenly felt that their heads were not enough. Some people even feel that they and others have been despised by Konoha. Don't be careless, go and gather the team. Seeing that some of his companions were scowling at Konoha, Chiyo suddenly groaned in bitterness. Waiting for others, it's right that there are many people at this time. But is Konoha a fool? Do you really think people will use eggs to touch rocks? Thinking of this, Chiyo felt even more annoyed. Sir Chiyo, don't be angry, let's call the team. Seeing Chiyo's anger, Sand Shinobi were all quiet. Then he also rushed out of the headquarters quickly. Papa, 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 Papa. The sound of breaking through the air and footsteps sounded one after another. Konoha's army is rapidly approaching the Tsunagakur position. Zhaojian and Orochimaru, as the first line of the attack, and even the main personnel. So the two of them are running at the forefront of the team at the moment. After them, naturally there are a group of Konoha Jonin in the headquarters. Master Orochimaru, Master Zhaojian, Masters. Sand Shinobi are gathering teams quickly at this moment. A perception ninja suddenly accelerated, separated from the large group behind, and rushed forward to report to the commanding Jonin. Understood, let's go down. Orochimaru replied faintly. 3,000 people came out of the nest, and naturally they couldn't hide it from Sand Shinobi. After all, people's perception ninjas are not displayed as vases. Zhaojian-kun, how sure do you think we are in this battle to get Sand Shinobi out of the border? After sensing the ninja stepping back, Orochimaru turned to Zhaojian and asked with a smile. Since the day before yesterday, I saw the strength of Zhaojian. Orochimaru never treated Zhaojian as a junior, but always treated him as his own peers. This also changed Zhaojian's impression of Orochimaru a lot. Although this guy is not very good in character, even after betraying Konoha, he can be said to be an unprincipled person. But there is no doubt that he is quite good at dealing with the world. At least when facing Zhaojian, he never put on the slightest posture. Then we have to see if Sand Shinobi can withstand the massacre. Zhaojian thought for a moment, then turned his head and laughed. If the Sand Shinobi are to fight to the death, then this battle will naturally not be able to get out. After all, the number of opponents is too big. But if the other party is killed, it hurts or is afraid of being killed. Then kicking them out is just a breeze. Of course, this must be based on the power of Zhaojian and Orochimaru massacres. Ha ha ha. Looking at Zhaojian with a smile, but saying that he was about to kill, Orochimaru felt a tingling scalp. His instinct clearly tells him that Zhaojian's character is not a bloodthirsty person. ACDA. But Zhaojian's actions are completely opposite to his character. This made Orochimaru feel very puzzled and confused. He even had some doubts at the moment. Is it true that I was deceived by my instinct? However, what Orochimaru didn't know was that his intuition was not wrong. Zhaojian is not a bloodthirsty person either. The reason why he wanted to kill the enemy. In fact, it's all for prestige. This is not a memorial archway. Bloodthirsty is like it. Zhaojian, on the other hand, kills the enemy with purpose. This is also the source of Orochimaru's sense of intuition. Pata pata pata. After Orochimaru's dry laughter, the team fell silent again. Along the way, only the sound of footsteps came out. 20 minutes later, the team approached Sand Shinobi's camp. This is to save energy and slow down a lot of reasons. Otherwise, the distance of 10 kilometers would have been run at the speed of a ninja. At this time, the Sand Shinobi have also assembled, and they directly set up their formation, waiting for the rabbit. Enter the state of combat readiness. Enter the state of combat readiness. After 200 meters between the two sides, Tari really red shouted, and it continued to resound. Before the war, Orochimaru had already handed over the command of the team to Yuhi Mahong. After all, as the leader, it is also one of the two highest counter-offensive forces. When the fight started for a while, Orochimaru would definitely not be able to care about the team's command. Pata pata pata. The sound of running footsteps became heavier and heavier. The solemn atmosphere also permeated the lineups of the two sides. What? The sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. After pulling the distance to 100 meters, Zhaojian quickly accelerated. Directly thrown away the large troops in the rear. Just like a sharp arrow, he shot it straight out. Bang! Orochimaru raised his eyes and glanced at Zhaojian's back. It also accelerated in the same way, and moved away from the rear. FK. Seeing Konoha's two highest combat powers, they rushed straight forward. Among Sand Shinobi's team, roars and roars suddenly sounded. They can defend themselves without risk, and they certainly can't just wait for the enemy's impact. And their best choice is undoubtedly a direct charge. And they, who are dominant in number, have no fear of rushing forward. Wind-style spiral shuriken. Zhaojian, who was running, in the process of raising his hand, instantly condensed a S-class wind-style. Then he threw directly behind Sand Shinobi. Rumble. The violent blasting sound resounded through the sky. 40 or so Sand Shinobi, because they weren't able to dodge in time, disappeared into wind-style in an instant. However, at the moment of such a rush, this spiral shuriken could not affect the morale of the Sand Shinobi at all. On the contrary, they are like wounded beasts, even more fierce. Taste. Summoning technique. Seeing that Zhaojian had already started, Orochimaru was not far behind. After biting his finger, he suddenly stopped and slapped his palm on the ground. Puffing. Rumble. The sky was full of smoke bursting all around. A violent tremor of the ground shook the mountain, and it was also accompanied by a loud noise. I saw a purple snake with four-horned head, gradually revealing its body from the smoke. Hey Orochimaru, summon this uncle, are you ready for the sacrifice? Before the smoke was gone, a voice full of unruly rebellion rang from the smoke. The sound also caused gusts of wind and waves. The fishy smell began to permeate all around. One snake, isn't the sacrifice right in front of your eyes? Just go get it yourself as much as you want. Orochimaru stood on top of Wonshi's head, and said with a dumb grin. Hearing Orochimaru's words, one snake shook his head and dissipated the smoke in front of him, only to realize that it was on the battlefield at the moment. The huge movement summoned by Orochimaru. Naturally, it also attracted Zhaojian's attention. But he just glanced back casually, and then rushed to the Sand Shinobi again. Orochimaru. Among Sand Shinobi's team, Chiyo looked at the huge 10,000 snakes, and his expression was a bit hideous. In the Second Ninja World War, she had seen the power of this summoning beast. This guy is not only huge. Its speed and attack power are also very powerful. In World War II, Konoha Sannin was so famous, in fact, it was inseparable from the summoning beast of the three of them. This huge summoning beast, on the battlefield, is simply a weapon to kill the enemy. But this kind of giant summoning beast happens to be only Konoha has it. This also made other big shinobu villages tickled with jealousy. But there is no way. Who let them not have it? Wind style 1,000 faces of wind. Wind style 1,000 faces of wind. At this moment, Zhaojian and Sand Shinobi charged forward. Already separated, only a dozen meters away. And Sand Shinobi, who had long been waiting for the seal, also suddenly opened their mouths at this time. There are tens of thousands of small winds all over the sky. In an instant, he moved towards Zhaojian, violently plundering and invading the past. All the field of vision in front of him was completely shrouded in it in an instant. The tiny wind blade is in the air, constantly colliding and fusing. The small wind cut that was originally like 1,000 books suddenly became the size of a bullet. Under the combination of ninjutsu, the power instantly increased several levels. However, facing the rushing Zhaojian, he could not dodge or even defend himself. Directly facing the wind blade, rushed up. Puffy, puffy, puffy. The moment it hit Fengjian, Zhaojian's body was pierced through more than a dozen caves at once. However, no trace of blood spattered from the injured part. On the contrary, it exudes dazzling golden light, and the flashing electric arc of pee-pee. Then in the blink of an eye, Zhaojian's injured position has already recovered. What's going on? When Zhaojian was hit, Sand Shinobi were instantly surprised. But they hadn't waited for their surprise expressions to appear on their faces. A surprising and incomprehensible scene appeared in everyone's eyes. 50 million volts Thunder Dragon. Just when the Sand Shinobi were puzzled, Zhaojian charged his right hand and slammed forward. Roar, ZZ. A thick thunder and lightning like a bucket turned into the form of a dragon. It swept in an instant, and roared beside the Sand Shinobi. Boom boom boom. Ah! The Thunder Dragon rushed past Sand Shinobi. The constant screams sounded continuously. The air was everywhere, with bursts of electric burnt and roasted smells. Ding! Congratulations to the master for killing 16 enemies and gaining 864 prestige points. Illustration. The momentum of the thunder and lightning is already very huge, and it also exudes a dazzling light. As a result, everyone's sights in the audience were forcibly focused on Zhaojian's body. God's verdict. Boom 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 boom. Ignore the system's prompt tone. Zhaojian took advantage of the Sand Shinobi's still sluggish time, and instantly slammed another blow. A golden thunder pillar that 2 or 3 people can hug together. In an instant, he shot straight out of his hand. In the thunder column, the golden light. Outside the thunder pillar, the arc walks away. Zhaojian's move is not only Enel's ruling, but also Kizaru's laser. At the same time, it has the commensurability of the ability of 2 fruits. Therefore, the power naturally increases by 3 points again. Boom boom boom. The dazzling flash and the huge explosion sound directly conveyed to the entire battlefield. The charge was in front, the Sand Shinobi who were close to Zhaojian. Everyone feels blind and tinnitus. The eyes were irritated and plunged into darkness instantly. And the buzzing sense of hearing loss has been circling in their ears all the time. Konoha Shinobi who came from behind Zhaojian, including Orochimaru. He also closed his eyes subconsciously by his flashy moves. It's like looking directly at the welding light and being stunned. Rumble. The loud bang ended. I saw it on the ground. The sonic boom brought out by this attack directly scraped out a straight, shallow ditch with no distance measurement. And above the ditch, there were countless bloody stumps and broken arms scattered. The attack speed of the trick was too fast, and the Sand Shinobi were directly hit. He was directly blown up on the scene. Hey Orochimaru, that guy should be our teammate, right? Wan Shi's somewhat frightened voice rang directly. Although snakes are cold-blooded animals. But at this time, it also felt shuddering. It is ready. If Orochimaru dared to say not a teammate, then it immediately returns to Ruchi Cave with summoning. Because this guy's tricks are too dangerous. If he was hit by his moves, he would definitely be pierced through a hole. Yes, teammate. Orochimaru was also full of horror, stuttering in his voice. He is above the head of one snake, and no one has a better vision than him. Because of this, no one in the scene knew better than him, the terrifying power of Zhaojian's move. Sand Shinobi in a straight line was directly destroyed. What kind of chicken power is this? This is too scary, right? Is this the ability he newly developed yesterday? Thinking of this, Orochimaru's body had goosebumps instinctively. And as horrified as Orochimaru, there are also Sand Shinobi troops and Chiyo in the rear. The distance between the thunder and her just now was only a few meters away. Illustration. So she could also clearly feel the violent power pervading the thunder. If you say Orochimaru, you have witnessed it with your own eyes. Then it was as if she had experienced it in person. The cold sweat rushed down from her forehead in an instant. This guy, what is going on? Does he still hide his strength in the battle the day before yesterday? Countless thoughts flashed through Chiandai's horrified mind. She couldn't understand why Zhaojian suddenly used a new trick. So she replenished her brain in an instant. Zhaojian had been deliberately hiding the answer of strength before. And this is the only explanation that seems reasonable. Master Zhaojian is mighty. Master Zhaojian cheats. The Konoha shinobi who were running behind and rushing towards Sand Shinobi immediately cheered and roared. The loud noise from the Zhaojian attack. Just like a muffled war drum, it struck abruptly in their hearts. Instantly raised their morale by several levels again. Wind style, chaos dance, wind style grease palm. Just when Zhaojian still wanted to accumulate his strength, when he came to issue a ruling. As a result, the Sand Shinobi, who had formed a seal a long time ago, hurriedly released the technique in their hands. Boom! Zhaojian, who was accumulating power, was immediately knocked out. However, the elementalization of Logia's demon made him directly immune to these attacks. The body glowed with a burst of light in the air. The injury on his body instantly recovered as before. What the hell is going on? Why is it still unscathed? Witnessed again, this weird scene. The Sand Shinobi around suddenly became terrified. During the war the day before yesterday, the attack hit Zhaojian, although he could not be injured. But at least, it also made him roll in embarrassment. But now this is directly ignoring the attack. What is going on? How can this continue? Orochimaru, who came up from behind, after witnessing this scene, his pupils suddenly shrank. Zhaojian's newly developed abilities also made him somewhat incomprehensible. But obviously, this is also a very tricky trick. Laser rays. Zhaojian was knocked off, adjusted his posture in the air, then stretched out the index finger of his right hand, pointing at Sand Shinobi, who knocked himself into the air. The dazzling light suddenly appeared at his fingertips. Call out, a golden laser. It's like high-pressure water flow. Suddenly, he shot out from Zhaojian's index finger. The speed is so fast that in a short distance, the laser broke through the sound barrier twice in an instant. Puffy, rumble, Sand Shinobi couldn't even evade. In an instant, Zhaojian pierced the heart. Then the laser shot on the ground behind him, and another violent explosion occurred in an instant. Several companions of Sand Shinobi beside him were also flooded by the explosion flame caused by the photon. Illustration. Oh, Zhaojian-kun, your newly developed new technique is really amazing. At this moment, Orochimaru also rushed into Sand Shinobi's team riding the 10,000 snakes. When passing by Zhaojian, he also gave a generous compliment. There is no such thing as flattering Zhaojian at this time. It really made Orochimaru feel extremely afraid. Sand Shinobi's little patience. Become my uncle's ration. When one snake was passing by, he stared at the snake's pupils, and gave Zhaojian a bit of a sing. Then they rushed out towards Sand Shinobi's army. Rumble. The huge snake body crawled on the ground. Suddenly, it caused a wave of movement, the ground was shaking and the mountain was shaking. The Sand Shinobi screamed and quickly fled around. Those who escaped quickly will naturally be saved from death. And those who escaped slowly were either swallowed by the 10,000 snakes, or they were crushed to death. The team of Sand Shinobi village is also because of the impact of 10,000 snakes. It became extremely chaotic in an instant. Wind style scythe weasel technique. Wind style scythe weasel technique. Wind style scythe weasel technique. Just when one snake was in Sand Shinobi's team, east turns west. More than a dozen Sand Shinobi, holding large fans, slammed the fans abruptly, sending a violent gust of wind to Wanshi. 10,000 snakes hit the head of the snake in front and was suddenly lifted up. Although it has thick skin and thick flesh, these attacks did not cause it to suffer any damage. But the Orochimaru on its head was waved off the snake's head by wind style. After Orochimaru fell to the ground, Sand Shinobi was surrounded by them, and fell silent for a moment. Then the Sand Shinobi who reacted immediately yelled at Orochimaru and surrounded them. At the same time, various ninjutsu also smashed Orochimaru, who was trapped in the circle. Hey, this is really troublesome. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes, and his hands quickly formed a seal. Wind-style great breakthrough. A huge tornado engulfed Orochimaru in an instant when he was printed. The ninjutsu that invaded Orochimaru was completely blocked. You get out of the way and let the old man come. Seeing Orochimaru AC-level ninjutsu, all the attacks were blocked. Chiyo suddenly jumped a few times and rushed to the encirclement of Orochimaru. At this time Luasha was seriously injured, and she was the only one who could stop Orochimaru. Chiyo, your puppet prosthesis is really exquisite. After seeing Chiyo's left arm, Orochimaru suddenly smirked. Although I don't have my left arm, it's not a big problem to block you temporarily. Chiyo was annoyed by Orochimaru. Then his arm flicked. The scroll of the 10 people in Jinsong opened again in front of her. However, in the battle the day before yesterday, her puppet was destroyed by Zhaojian and 5. Therefore, among the 10 people in Jinsong at this time, there were also 5 ordinary puppets in it. Therefore, the power is already much worse than before. Haha, block me temporarily. But who is going to resist 10,000 snakes? Illustration. Who can resist it? What about Zhaojian-kun now? Orochimaru was not in a hurry. He glanced at Zhaojian, who was slaughtering Jin Guangsheng in the back. He suddenly became hoarse and grinned. Boom boom boom. Hearing Orochimaru's words, I saw the explosion light flashing in front of the team. In Chiyo's heart, he couldn't help but gradually fell into a trough. 30 million volts Thunderbird. Just as Orochimaru rushed into Sand Shinobi's troops, Zhaojian was also massacring. However, he did not directly use the sword to slash the enemy as usual. Because of this battle, need to kill Sand Shinobi. Then drove them directly out of the border of the country of fire. So the momentum and movement caused by the battle is naturally the bigger the better. Because of this, it can be more deterrent. Zzz. Electric current condenses above Zhaojian's head. In a flash of time, it turned into the form of a big bird. Then he slammed under Zhaojian's arm. The thunder bird fluttered its wings and dived and soared at the Sand Shinobi. Boom, rumbling, sizzling. Ah. The speed of lightning is very fast. One blow. More than a dozen Sand Shinobi couldn't dodge, and suddenly became embarrassed. Just a few breaths of time. The screaming sound gradually weakened, and finally stopped completely. And a dozen Sand Shinobi are already scorched at the moment. With smoke from his mouth and nose, he fell on the ground. Obviously, they are all breathless. Laser beam. Shoo, rumble, under full firepower. The laser beam continuously fired from Zhaojian's index finger. The explosions around, also at this time, kept ringing one after another. The explosion of photons is different from flames. Because it has no gunpowder smoke. But its power is even better. Wind-style wind blade. Wind-style feng qi technique. Just when Zhaojian unscrupulously fired lasers and carried out massacres, several Sand Shinobi gritted their teeth, and rushed straight up. Puff puff. The wind blade slashed from Zhaojian. In an instant, let his body separate again. However, Sand Shinobi did not feel a trace of happiness at this time. Because Zhaojian's cut was shining with golden light of xenon hydrogen. Oh, it's so scary. I was cut into several segments by you again. Zhaojian imitated Kizaru's tone. The sound came from the mouth of the head that had been cut to the ground. Immediately let the Sand Shinobi around you breathe in cold air. Feeling horrified and shuddering, Zhaojian could have avoided, or could be directly defended. But he did not do so. Because he felt that such an effect. It can even arouse the fear of Sand Shinobi. Run away. Run away. This guy can't kill. The scene was silent for a few seconds. The nearby Sand Shinobi began to collapse one after another. You can't beat and beat, and you can't kill and kill. This really makes them feel desperate. If you continue to fight like this, obviously, it can only increase fearless casualties. Buzzing. Seeing Sand Shinobi near me, they started to escape. Zhaojian thought. The body that had been cut into several pieces and scattered on the ground began to glow and reunited and merged together. In the blink of an eye, his body recovered as before. Kill. Fun ah. At this time, Konoha and Sand Shinobi's army. They also slammed into each other suddenly. All kinds of ninjutsu. On the battlefield, flying all over the sky, colliding everywhere. At the center of the battlefield on both sides for a time, the sky became extremely gorgeous. Although Zhaojian and Orochimaru are strong, but the two of them did not take care of all the places in the entire battlefield. After all, the total number of people on both sides add up. There are more than 8,000 people. Therefore, the scope of this battle has also been spread several hundred meters away. What? He turned his head and glanced at Orochimaru, who was entangled by Chiyo. Zhaojian shook his head helplessly, then rushed towards the densest place of Sand Shinobi. At this moment, Sand Shinobi are fighting against Konoha Shinobi in ninjutsu. So I didn't notice it at all. Zhaojian had already rushed to their rear from another battlefield. Woolen cloth. After getting closer, Zhaojian's legs slammed on the ground. In an instant, the body rushed into the sky. Master Zhaojian. Master Zhaojian. The Konoha Shinobi are in a ninjutsu duel with the Sand Shinobi. And when Zhaojian jumped high from behind the Sand Shinobi, they noticed instantly. In fact, it's not enough if you don't notice it. Because Zhaojian's body was shining brightly. Just like a sun, it dazzlingly rises behind Sand Shinobi. As long as they are not blind, they will not fail to see it. Nani? Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Quote, I heard the exclamation of the Konoha Shinobi people on the opposite side. Sand Shinobi quickly turned their heads and looked behind. Then they quickly noticed the golden light of Zhaojian above the sky. In all Sand Shinobi's hearts, it suddenly felt that something was wrong. Then the whole body's hairs also stood up on the body surface in an instant. Seola, lambs of Sand Shinobi. Ba Kai Chong Go Yu. Shoo, 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 shoo. The dazzling golden light and the violent electric arc were condensed in front of Zhaojian with his hands folded. After a secret drink, his hands suddenly opened. Countless light bullets surrounded by arcs shot down like raindrops. The moment Big Move exploded, the horizon was directly dyed golden. In the battlefield, whether it is Sand Shinobi or Konoha's ninja, all were attracted by the dazzling light. Even Orochimaru and Chiyo collided in an instant confrontation, and then quickly moved a distance away and projected their gazes. Quote dot exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Quote dot exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Quote. Despair kicked off at this moment. All the Sand Shinobi in front of Zhaojian were so frightened that they lost their voice collectively. The golden light in the sky made them unable to open their eyes. But they know that they and others have been completely shrouded in it. And there is no possibility of survival. Boom 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 boom. Boom 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 boom. Light flare as dense as raindrops. Continuously, swept down from in front of Zhaojian. The Sand Shinobi at the front and bottom were completely submerged in it in an instant. After the photo bomb hit the ground, it also triggered a violent and dense photon explosion. For a time, ahead Sand Shinobi, where they are, all were enveloped by the explosion of flames triggered by photons. And because Zhaojian has joined the relationship of thunder and lightning in the light bomb. As a result, the entire area where the Sand Shinobi were located was filled with dazzling golden light and electric arcs that flickered around. Boom boom boom. The golden light bursts, and the thunder walks away. Because Zhaojian just got devil fruit not long. So although he imitated Kizaru's big move, but compared with Kizaru's deliberate stroke accuracy, his accuracy is still much worse. Since the accuracy is not enough, let's make up for it with quantity. With this idea in mind, Zhaojian directly extended the continuation of this big move for more than 10 seconds. Because of this, when Zhaojian stopped, right below him, on the ground where the Sand Shinobi were before, it has been completely light bombed, and it has devastated all of them. The whole ground is full of pits, large and small. There is almost nowhere within sight, and there is a complete ground of more than 1 square meter. Is that a dream? A Sand Shinobi, looking at the ground bombed by Zhaojian. The voice was a little unbelievable, muttering to the companion beside him. What are you saying? The companion also answered with a dull expression, absent-minded instinct. I mean, is this a dream? Sand Shinobi's voice started to cry. They watched at least 300 companions. Under the continuous bombardment of Zhaojian light bombs. He was directly blown into flesh and blood, shot indiscriminately, and even directly beaten into a sieve. At the moment, it has been bombed on the ground several times. There was still mud everywhere, crimson stained with blood. As for the corpses, they have all been blown up or buried. If it is a dream now, this sand shinobi hopes to wake up as soon as possible. Because of this dream, it is too bloody and too terrifying. In fact, not only this name is sand shinobi, but all the other sand shinobi also hope that the scene they have just witnessed can turn into a false dream. After all, what they saw and heard just now also made them feel unacceptable. That is 300 or 400 companions. If you don't have it, it's gone. And death is so sad. Even the whole body did not leave a. Everyone on the entire battlefield was silent at this moment. The powerful strength of Zhaojian made them refresh their understanding of Zhaojian again. Konoha Shinobi, the worship of Zhaojian, once again raised a level. And Sand Shinobi, the fear of Zhaojian, also added a little bit. He. Chiyo, you who provoked the war, do you feel any regrets now? Orochimaru retracted, shrinking into a pin-eye-sized pupil, then turned his head and asked Chiyo with a smile. Zhaojian's strength is also refreshed, Orochimaru's view of Zhaojian. Fortunately, this guy is Konoha's companion. If it's a ninja from another village, it's really very, very troublesome. In Orochimaru's heart, there was also a slight sense of fortune. Hoo. Chiyo's breathing was very heavy. Of course, this is not exhausting. It was the heartache that Sand Shinobi's hundreds of companions were killed in an instant. Chiyo didn't answer Orochimaru's words. In the current battle situation, she was also very flustered, and she didn't know what to do. Chiyo is suddenly abnormal now and misses Ebizo. If Ebizo is here at the moment, then use him as Sand Shinobi's think tank. He will know how to deal with the current situation next. However, these are nothing but the thoughts of thousands of generations, and there is nothing in this world. Because Ebizo, the think tank of Sand Shinobi, has been taken prisoner by Konoha and others. Haha, are you speechless? Seeing that Chiyo fell silent, Orochimaru couldn't help but sneered. Then, taking advantage of the moment Chiyo was distracted slightly, he rushed out again to fight with her. Konoha's army was also under the shouting command of Yuri Junhong. Taking advantage of the depression of Sand Shinobi's mood, they launched a fierce counterattack again. After another wave of ninjutsu duel, both sides took out kunai, ninja swords, and various weapons to start a hand-to-hand battle. Soldiers, against generals. The Jonin of Konoha also fought with Sand Shinobi Jonin again. Kushina and Yikang also started again, and there was no final battle the day before yesterday. Morale is declining. Sand Shinobi, who had the advantage of being able to crush Konoha. At this moment, Konoha, who was in high spirits, was gradually fighting to a tie. The Jonin conductors of Sand Shinobi were also very anxious. Although as Jonin, they will not be morale affected too much combat power. However, more than 5,000 people were beaten by 3,000 people, and they were very anxious. But they can't help it. Zhaojian continued, several strong blows. The morale of ordinary Sand Shinobi has been made, and they have gradually fallen into a trough. And at this moment, they do not have a cage-level powerhouse, who can go and stop Zhaojian, who is massacring. Carrot, puff 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 puff. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Boom, 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 rumble. Zhaojian has also pulled out the black knife Chushui. His right hand was constantly swinging at the enemy. And his left hand, the laser, is constantly shooting out. No one is his enemy. No one can stop his slaughter. At this time, Zhaojian, almost where they killed Sand Shinobi, who retreated like a tide. It's like Zhaojian, a real scourge. Master Luasha. Thousands of generations have explained, you can't move around now. Good Zhao's on the position behind Sand Shinobi's troops. The two medical ninjas searched for Luasha with a pale face. Because although Luasha's injury has recovered, his state at the moment is still extremely weak. If he is forced into battle at this moment, then his combat power is only Chunin's level at best. This cannot be undone, Sand Shinobi's situation at this time. Whirring, golden sand bound. Luo Sha, who was held tightly and couldn't move forward. Taking advantage of the medical ninjas being unprepared, they threw 2 Liang pills into their mouths. Then with a low drink, gold sand poured out from the ground. Wrapped the 2 Sand Shinobi who were dragging him, except for their heads. Master Luasha, Master Luasha, 2 medical ninja dust trapped. Anxiously, shouted at Luo Sha's back. Boom. Just when Zhaojian massacred Sand Shinobi, a puff of smoke lifted up not far from him. Turning to look around, I found out. It turned out to be Orochimaru's summoning beast Manzan, smashing everywhere. Exactly, Zhaojian thought for a moment. Suddenly stepped on the ground. Then his figure burst out in an instant, and shot towards the top of Wan Shi's head. 10,000 snakes, who were impacting everywhere on the battlefield, sensed that someone was shooting quickly, and instinctively turned their heads to look over. The person I saw was Zhaojian. Wan Snake's snake pupil suddenly shrank violently and directly turned into a straight line. Pop! Zhaojian's figure steadily fell on top of Wan Shi's head. Wan Shi was frightened directly, and froze in place motionless. Ah, Lord Zhaojian, I am an ally. After spitting out the snake letter, Wan Snake made a somewhat daunted voice. Zhaojian's deterrent power is much greater than Orochimaru. It is unclear what purpose Zhaojian has, so it dares not act rashly at this moment. You continue to charge. I'm just borrowing a location with a wide view. Zhaojian raised his hand and returned the shinobi sword to its sheath, and a faint voice came from his mouth. Okay. Wan Shi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that he wasn't here to make trouble for himself. Then he quickly rushed in the Sand Shinobi camp. Laser beam. Shoo, 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 shoo. Zhaojian, whose weapon was sheathed, raised his hands. The light was constantly shining from his index fingers of both hands. On the top of Wan Shi's head, the field of vision was very wide, and he could overlook nearly half of the battlefield. Where there are many Sand Shinobi, or where Konoha is passive, he can use laser light to support in time. Go to hell, you stinky kid. A Sand Shinobi is holding a shinobi sword. He rushed to Kakashi, who was fighting one by one. Attempt the 3 people to work together to strangle Kakashi. At this moment, a laser beam came in an instant. Immediately, Sand Shinobi, who was rushing up, pierced his head and fell on the scene. Boom. The violent photons caused an explosion. The 2 Sand Shinobi who besieged Kakashi suddenly lost their senses. Kakashi also took advantage of this opportunity and swiped a sharp knife. The heads of the 2 Sand Shinobi directly flew high. Hoo teacher Zhaojian. After taking a breath, Kakashi turned his head and looked at Zhaojian, who was standing above Wan Shi's head not far away. And Zhaojian did the same, looking over. Seeing the shinobu in Kakashi's hand, it was already full of gaps in the collision. So Zhaojian raised his hand, pulled out the autumn water from his waist, and threw it directly towards Kakashi. He who possessed the flashing fruit, also developed the sky cloud sword. Now Chu Shui is no longer necessary for him. It's so heavy. Is this the teacher's knife? Seeing Zhaojian throw out the weapon, Kakashi was shocked for a moment, and then quickly raised his hand to take it down. Unexpectedly, the weight of the black knife shocked him. Sign. Just as Kakashi was holding a knife in both hands and carefully observing the teacher's weapon, a Sand Shinobi suddenly rushed towards him. Chong. Kakashi draws his sword instinctively. Sand Shinobi, who was rushing, slammed out suddenly. Dang. Puff. The sound of the weapon being severed sounded. Blood suddenly appeared in Kakashi's hands. I saw that the kuwu in Sand Shinobi's hands was cut off by Chu Shui. And Sand Shinobi was also cut directly on the spot by Kakashi. Nah, so sharp. Seeing Sand Shinobi who was cut in the middle, Kakashi was shocked. When he turned his head to look at Zhaojian, Zhaojian had already left in a big snake. Ha ha ha, Chio. It seems that these puppets of yours are not working. Orochimaru, who was fighting Chio, suddenly grinned ACDA and laughed. After being ruined by Zhaojian, Chio's strength dropped by several notches. At this time, the 5 ordinary puppets she had joined had been destroyed one by Orochimaru. Of the 10 puppets, only the original 5 real Jinsong 10 people remained. Whirring. Chio gasped heavily, staring at Orochimaru with heavy eyes. Originally, her strength was probably on par with Orochimaru. But now, there are only 5 puppets of her. It has been completely suppressed by Orochimaru. Magnet-style golden sand waves. Just when Chio was in a serious mood, countless golden sand suddenly poured out from behind her. I forced Orochimaru in front of her and jumped out. Rosa. Chio suddenly turned his head and looked back. Luo Sha was looking pale, standing on the sand mat and floating over. Chiyo-sama, hurry up and order the retreat, it's not advisable to fight anymore. Luo Sha, who flew forward, opened her mouth with anxious and weak expression. Standing above the sky, he has a very wide field of vision. He could clearly see that the sand shinobi at this moment had no morale at all, and even collapsed. If you continue to fight at this time, you will not only see no hope of victory, will continue to increase their own useless casualties. Retreat. Do you know what you are talking about? Chiyo looked up at Luasha, his eyes a little sharp. If you retreat at this time, Sand Shinobi's military spirit will be all over. It can even be said that Sand Shinobi has already lost half of this war. How can this make her accept such a result? Look for yourself, what's going on in the battlefield at this time? Seeing Chiyo's expression, Luo Sha sighed helplessly. Then with a wave of his hand, a layer of gold dust gushed out from under Chiyo's feet, lifting Chiyo also into the sky. Boom, boom, I saw the laser continuously shoot out from the top of one snake's head, Zhaojian's hand. Countless sand shinobi were buried directly under the explosion of golden light. And wherever Zhaojian went, the sand shinobi didn't resist at all of them were scattered and fleeing. The whole of Sand Shinobi's troops fell into a low morale because of the reason. The combat power has dropped drastically. The only people in the field who can resist a little bit are the Jonins with stronger mental qualities. It's over, Sand Shinobi is over. In the high altitude, after witnessing this scene with his own eyes, Chiyo's face suddenly turned pale. It's over. Sand Shinobi is over. The line of sight shrouded the entire battlefield. Chiyo's complexion suddenly paled. According to the situation at this time, although Sand Shinobi is still in number, dominate. But if you want to win, obviously, it is already powerless to revolving heaven. Because the Sand Shinobi were not in the military, the team had already collapsed. Master Chiyo, give your order. Now that we retreat, we can make a comeback. If we continue to fight at this time, we will really be seriously injured. Seeing Chiyo sitting on the sand pad, Luo Sha became even more anxious. At this moment, it is a crucial time to retreat. If you order a retreat 1 minute earlier, you can save the lives of a few more companions. Yes, retreat, retreat, retreat to me. Hurry up, all retreat to me. Luo Sha's reminder made Chiyo wake up like a dream. After reacting, she was suddenly above the sky, shouting with exhaustion. The sound came from high above the sky. It spread without hindrance. Pause. Her voice was heard all over the battlefield. All Sand Shinobi's hearts were relieved at the same time. This war, they wanted to retreat a long time ago. But the high levels have never given orders. So they can only grit their teeth. At this moment, Chiyo's hissing cry, although very unpleasant. But when it reached the ears of Sand Shinobi, it was as beautiful as a fairy sound. There were even more than a dozen sensual Sand Shinobi, who were directly moved, and tears were on the scene. Unlike Sand Shinobi, Konoha's ninjas are all excited at this moment. They really succeeded. They are under the leadership of Lord Zhaojian and Orochimaru. With 3,000 people, more than 5,000 people in Sunagakur were successfully repelled. When they first came out of Kikyo City, although they were encouraged by their morale, they were still a little timid in their hearts. But now, in the hearts of all Konoha shinobi, there is only a lot of excitement left. Dan, I don't know when, and disappeared without a trace. Increase the counterattack. Charge Chiyo's voice silenced the scene for a second or two. Then Tari's red roar also resounded. At this time, Sand Shinobi's morale dropped again because of Chiyo's order to retreat. For the unintentional battle, I just want to retreat, Sand Shinobi of Ishin. Of course they won't let it go. This is the opportunity to beat the dog in the water. FK. Kill all Konoha shinobi, under the command of Yuri Junhong. All were so excited that they roared and shocked. Some Sand Shinobi, who had no heart to fight and retreated in time, were ruthlessly beheaded on the scene as if they were being eaten by a hungry tiger. The scene began to become anxious again. Illustration. Some Sand Shinobi wanted to retreat, but they were so entangled that they couldn't get out of them for a while. With no morale and anxiety, he couldn't hold on for long and was also beheaded on the spot. Kick at the speed of light. The moment Zhaojian lifted his right leg, the dazzling light began to condense on his calf. There are actually two kinds of light speed kicks, one is direct kicking. The other is an enhanced laser beam. At the moment of kicking out, all the photons gathered on the calf are emitted instantly. It will form an enhanced version of the laser. Not only does the laser become stronger, but after hitting the target, the explosion range will also become larger. Kizaru in One Piece once used this trick. One blow directly kicked off the Sabayati archipelago, the number 27 Alchemangrove. Buzzing. Call out. The more powerful the trick, the longer it takes to accumulate energy. Countless photons condensed on Zhaojian's calf for more than 10 seconds. He flexed his calf and kicked out the retreating sand shinobi. Rumble. The thick laser at the mouth of the bull instantly penetrated half of the battlefield. Immediately after a huge explosion, amidst the fleeing sand shinobi, it burst out suddenly. The flame formed by photons instantly diffused a range of tens of meters in diameter. The dazzling fire light soared into the sky. A violent gust of wind whizzed around from the center of the explosion. Like a small nuclear bomb, a nuclear explosion happened suddenly. On the entire battlefield, Zhaojian's move was once again illuminated with light. The ground also shivered violently because of the explosion. It was like a small earthquake happened. Boom. The flame of the explosion lasted for nearly 10 seconds. Dozens of sand shinobi who were drowned in the flames were already scorched and their souls returned to the pure land. Flee, don't be shocked, run away. Countless people were once again attracted by the huge movement. At this time, Chio was even more anxious, hissing his lungs, and roaring again. The sand shinobi who recovered, panicked and ran away. Regardless of whether he has a companion or not, he is entangled by the Konoha shinobi. They just think now, hurry up and leave this dangerous place. Stay away as soon as possible, above the giant snake's head, that terrifying figure. Master Zhaojian, do you need to chase? Looking at sand shinobi who are hurriedly evading trial. One snake asked very well behaved under Zhaojian's feet. After witnessing Zhaojian's powerful moves several times, it didn't even dare to breathe at the moment. For fear that someone accidentally annoys Zhaojian, let him come up for himself. No, let them go. 0. After a faint reply, Zhaojian took his right leg back. Sand shinobi, who ran away in a hurry, didn't even want the camp they built. Directly under the leadership of Chio and Luo Sha. Toward the direction outside the border of the country on fire, he quickly fled to the past. As for sand shinobi who were trapped and unable to escape, either he was captured, or he was killed. Illustration. Master Zhaojian, the battle is over, Konoha's ninjas. They gathered together towards Zhaojian's place. Everyone looked excited and admired, looking up at Zhaojian above Wan Shi's head. This battle is so easy to win. It is because of Zhaojian that it has created a huge deterrent to sand shinobi. This disintegrated their army and lost all morale. Master Zhaojian, do you need to go down? Seeing the crowd gathered around, Wan Shi asked cautiously. Well, go down. After hearing Zhaojian's words, Wan Snake obediently lowered his head to the ground. Zhaojian then made a soft leap, jumping off the top of its head. Orochimaru, who had just caught up, saw this scene, and suddenly became a black line. Wan Shi, you dog, who is the owner of the contract with you? When dealing with labor and capital, you must ask for sacrifices everywhere. When facing Zhaojian-kun, why did he become so behaved and obedient? Orochimaru felt a bit wronged and uncomfortable in his heart. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.